thank you. Can Heather hear me? You should be able to.
I can hear you. So tell me again, Amanda, do I join by phone or computer audio? Computer audio? No.
Hit join by phone because you don't want it to actually connect to your microphone or you'll get the echo.
Okay.
Now,
So I'll just listen.
We keep working on this. I'm going to unmute everybody to make sure they can be heard. All right, can Ben hear us?
I can.
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, thank you. Jessica, can you hear us?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. And we know Dale can. Heather's here, and Devin can hear us, so that's great. So I'm going to mute you all right now because we've got sound vibrations here, and then connect you all back up when you want to talk. And so when you want to talk, I know all of you probably have used this before, you just hit the reaction item and we have the participation on the agenda items that you're interested in, and then we'll unmute you. So thank you all for coming in. Ooh, 2 more people too. Okay. Let's see, we got Kyle. Hi Kyle, this is Catherine. Can you hear us?
Oh, he's muted.
Okay. Hi Kyle, can you hear us? Oh, I tried that again.
There it goes.
Okay,
Can you
good.
hear me?
Yes, I can. Great, thank you. So we're going to mute everybody back up until the agenda items come up that you're interested in. And then I'm sure you've used the process before. You would just hit the little reaction button and then we'll unmute you. Then we got admit on Conley. Oh, this is exciting. We usually don't have this many people.
I shared the heck out of that Zoom.
You did. So we've got quite a few here. We'll just hope they don't get so small I can't see them. Alright, that one I'm not sure. I can unmute here. Nothing. Okay, we're connecting. Everybody's got a different setup. Okay, we got a couple of little chats here. Okay, yeah, great. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Yeah. Oh, we got some more too. Okay. All right, looks like we're all set to go. The lights are on for the video streaming. And we got an audience, so we got 3-day meeting going. Okay.
All right. And council is sort of working late this evening, so we will either be very late or not be able to make the meeting. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the regular meeting for the town council, Tuesday, June 2nd, 6:30 p.m. If we could please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If we could have a moment of silence, please, for the pledge. Thank you. First item is adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting held on May 19th, 2020. Council to look for a motion.
Will we adopt the minutes as presented?
Second.
Thank you. Councilors, any corrections, additions, subtractions from the minutes?
yes.
Deborah?
My statement that I made, I would like that to be in there in its entirety, and I have a copy, because what's in there doesn't carry the gist of what I was saying. So move we amend it to include my statement.
Do you have copies of those for the counselors to look at before we approve?
No, that's just in my book.
Okay. Anything else, counselors? Does anyone want a copy of Deborah's statement before approving adding it to the minutes? No? Okay.
Nobody's answering, so.
We were all here and we heard.
Yes.
Okay.
Alright, so, we need, to vote on that addition. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard, that will pass. Next, presentations, congratulations, and introductions. Sasha, that is you.
Yes, thank you. I'll be very brief this evening because we have a lot of items under the town manager's report and then a lot of interesting items on the agenda regarding recreation especially, as well as important projects for the town. So I will note very briefly under community and economic development activities and events. We're very proud of the Puritan Company as well as Chimbro, and very thankful to the federal government for the new plant that is going in at the former Edwards facility. They have been working around the clock, and I can attest they've been there all night, many nights, and so they're getting everything ready. So this will be a big boost back to where we were when the UTC facility shut down. And when that shut down, I mean, people talked about how there were over 300 people there, but there basically were about 200. The plant in its glory can have about 500 people with all the shifts and everything. So hopefully we will get back up to that again. Second, I will note that I have looked at the CARES legislation extensively, and one of the subject matters that the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation will be talking about at the end of the month when they have a meeting. And we'll be contacting all the members with suggested dates and pick out a date that works for everyone, or as many people as we can. They will be talking about that specific legislation from the federal government and the fact that economic development monies are now available for infrastructure improvements. And in order to have infrastructure improvements for an industrial park or a business park, we need to have proper zoning of land. And as we know, all of the lots that the town owns, which are zoned commercial and industrial, have been sold. And so in the area of the industrial park, we have sold all the property, businesses are in there. And so the planning board, in one of the projects that Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation asked them to do last summer, was to look at the lands and see how we can rezone, or if it's possible. It may not be possible, but we should look. And a few other items were mentioned, such as relaxing the requirements on subdivisions, because we haven't had a major subdivision here for decades. We have one of the most restrictive subdivision ordinances that I've seen. And of course we do want to protect the town, but we do want to grow, and we want to provide houses, homes, even smaller, tiny homes, new homes, because most people when they buy a property here have to renovate it and keep renovating it and keep renovating it, because that infrastructure is older, being one of the older communities. So these are important projects that the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation will be talking about, and how we can assist the planning board to move forward with those items, as well as a few other projects. And so that'll be very important. The third item I'll mention is that we have our community development block grant for the sidewalk on Main Street, and with the MDOT's struggle with the amount of monies that are available, as well as the extra work that had to be done, they have pushed back the project for another year. So the paving on Main Street in several sections is very bad. I spoke with our project manager about having some sort of skinny code or something put on, and they are looking into it seriously. And what we may want to do to assist this process is to send a letter to the commissioner, just explaining how we would like to have that paved in the interim until the major project is done. And as we know, the pavement that is put down comes off in a year or two anyway, and with the project scheduled, you know, for 21, we really need something on there. So that's something I could put on our next agenda if you'd be interested in a letter. I think that would be very helpful. I mean, in places it's very bumpy and the whole section, the whole overlay has come off. So those are the 3 items I have under economic development. Thank you.
Well, if they wait long enough, then there won't be anything left there.
This is true.
So the comment that people were having a hard time hearing me, is that better? Or no?
Whoever is speaking, I cannot hear very well.
Okay. I gotta try and go back in here.
I'll speak up higher. I have a soft voice, but the mask also does mask.
Yeah, I think they couldn't hear me. If I do the computer audio, is that where we get the?
You'll have feedback.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can you move the thing so it's closer to the middle of the table, the phone? or the
I
microphone?
don't actually have it on.
Oh.
Yeah. We set up a different microphone to see if we could get less vibrations.
All right. I
Oh,
tried
where is
turning-
that microphone located?
On Catherine's
Right
desk.
here. Do we
Could you
the
put it
middle?
in closer?
Put it in the middle?
Yeah, and then that's probably why they can't hear us.
Okay, we're learning here.
All right, let
What
me
to do.
try. Is that any better? All right. Okay, I think that fixed it. All right, I will speak up through my mask as well. Where are we? We are on to public hearings and old business. We had tabled resolution 20-52. And we're looking at, looking for a motion to remove that from the table tonight.
I move we remove resolution 20-52 from the table.
Second.
All those in favor of removing resolution 20-52 from the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, we'll take that off the table and address it now. So we'll look for a motion.
Move we adopt resolution 20-52.
Second.
All right, we need,
You need to fill in the information though. I
Alright,
don't know what that is.
so,
Well, we have to have a discussion.
Yes.
right.
Yes.
So counselors, discussion, we received some information from Steve, and he's here with us tonight. Recommendation was to reject the bids because it was too high. Steve, do you wanna add anything else to that information you sent us?
Basically, we only got 1 bid out of 6 people, so 6 contractors. The others declined the bid. It's too much work for them. Can't find help, yada, 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 so. And the only bid we did receive was over 50,000.
And do you think this is because it's so late in the year?
No,
I think people,
no. They can't find help, they can't get them off unemployment. Rick Bloom declined to renew with his farm beyond. Because of that, he can't find help, and he was only using it as so he could keep crew busy and available for projects that he makes money on. So he was basically doing it for nothing.
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's been some suggestions this evening before the meeting. It was suggested that in July, the unemployment runs out, so the contractors may be able to find some help at that point. And it also was suggested that perhaps rather than mowing every week, we mow every 3 weeks, or try to find some solution here so it won't be perfect, but we at least could find a contractor that could do that, as well as we talked about cobbling together 2 or 3 contractors if we had to. with Public Works doing some, but not too much.
There is a possibility that you could have contractors take portions of it,
Mhm.
break it down further. I still don't believe you're gonna come in at $12,000 for the two tasks like you have in the past, so.
Are we able to hire a temporary worker just to do this?
I was gonna ask the same
For,
thing.
for less than $12,000, I would hope.
Well, I mean.
Or even
then-
for $12,000,
but
if
the
that's what we had
problem is-
paid last year and that's what was in the budget,
Well,
then.
the problem is then I need to have the equipment to cover both.
Or we rented,
Huh?
or we rented.
Well, it'd be pretty hard to rent them over, I think.
Not enough people in here to take that long.
Some of it's fine mowing, which would be zero turn kind of mower. Some of it could be done with a tractor, you could rent that with a mower, bigger stuff.
We don't have a zero turn already, who does the library?
But you can only do so. The zero turn right now does all the parks.
Mm-hmm.
So now you wanna have the airport, the sewage treatment, all your tanks, your well houses, yada, yada, yada. It's not gonna be available now.
Well, like we do it on a rotating schedule though. I'm just trying to think of a solution, cause we can't let the stuff grow up too much or we'll have to bush hog it.
Oh, you gotta
Yeah,
mow
I
it
didn't
right now.
hear most of what Steve said, so
My
I
guys
would like to
mow
know
it
what we're
right now,
talking
so,
about.
yeah. You don't have enough equipment resource with the single zero turn to cover everything that we have. Cause it sorta comes off depending on weather, depending on, you know, so if you got some rain, you only got a few days to get it done. So you really need to be able to just go get it done when it's available.
How often are you mowing now? How often are they mowing? Every week, on a weekly basis, every week it's being mowed?
Well, it depends through the season. Depends on heat and rain.
Yep,
Grass grows crazy.
yep,
You might have to mow every 2 days. Or if you got cold, dry for a long spell, then you might only have to mow once every 3 or 4. But if you're in one park, you're not in the other, so you don't do all the parks in one day.
right. Is there a way we can reduce the amount of mowing that we need to do? Like, are we doing the maximum amount of mowing that we need to do around each of like the water tanks? Is there a way we can do like, instead of, do you know what I mean? Like reduce the amount of actual grass that we're mowing. So instead of mowing a 50 feet barrier around the buildings or whatever, can we do a 20? So that they would have time to go and do other, do you know what I mean?
Well, the airport has to be done what it is, and if we are doing
Yeah.
minimum.
Well, I understand that airport has its own issues.
The transfer station, you just can't let it get too far beyond where you can't handle it. But we've already done the transfer station with the boom mower. It still needs to be finish mower, fine mowing, stuff that we can't get with the boom mower. And then we've done the airport with a combination of the boom mower and the finish mower. But right now, that's tying up Dean and Timmy.
Yep,
And then as soon as that's done, or maybe in between, they might have to stop and go get the parts, and then they'll be back on. So what I'm saying is that when you look at it with what we got for equipment now, it becomes a full week thing.
right.
And if you're taking care of one thing with a piece of equipment, you cannot go utilize it for something else.
So do we need to get another mower then?
You would possibly have to get another mower, and yes, part-time help is an option. Or another option is we break up
Mm-hmm.
the work content to give to contractors to see if we could get somebody that thinks they could take
Key
a
areas.
lesser amount. Because even Lynch, which is a big company, they have 20 employees now, they're looking to add 6 more. They said that's a lot more. That's a lot. But with their burden overhead and everything else, they run their numbers, that's where they gotta be in order to do that mowing. And that's only 12 events a year. So that's pared down pretty good.
Could you look into the cost of getting a zero turn for us? I mean, cause this quote, we just don't have it in our budget.
Well, I understand. I understand, no, I understand how it
I'd like to
works.
find some kind of option.
The zero turn runs around $14,000.
So we're still between looking at buying a mower and having labor, that's $24,000 or more, which is more than what the bid is.
I
just to have to
estimated,
do
I
it.
estimated out this job should run about 30 grand. Okay.
Can we
Which job
lease a
is
mower?
39.
Huh?
Can we lease a mower?
I don't think you can lease zero turn. I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty sure.
I was gonna suggest we reject the bids and then have Steve come back with some plan of action with different alternatives. I think breaking this up between the contractors is the way to go, if we
Making
can
this
find people to
responsible
do
for a
it.
specific area, maybe.
Yeah,
One contractor do the airport,
Right.
one the water towers, one.
exactly.
Yeah. I would be in favor of that. Break up the bid, try and get maybe 3 bids on it.
So, motion?
3, 4, whatever. Yeah.
Whatever
So
you
I
need.
move that we reject the bid on the table and ask that Steve provide us with another plan.
Second.
There you go.
What is that?
Somebody is outside,
Oh.
there's an airplane going over. Deborah, you second that.
Yes.
All right, so Amanda's
Do we need to put it back on the table?
recommending.
We already did
We
that.
have it on the table, we're just, the recommendation is, or the motion is to reject the bids
Yes.
and have Steve come back with another plan, either people or power or something to break up the job in a way that we can get other companies to bid on it, to break it up, to make it manageable. Deborah, you seconded that.
Yes.
Counselors, do we have discussion on that amendment? Okay, all those in favor?
Is anybody speaking right now?
Oh. Yes?
Who, somebody wants to
Do
speak?
we have comments? Catherine, are you muted?
I am muted, yes.
Catherine, you're on mute.
I am on mute, yes, because several people said they wanted me to call it on my cell phone.
Is that this? I think they were telling me, is that this is on mute?
No, everything's set up and is working.
Okay.
People have said they can hear it. In fact, too loud.
So they can't hear.
All right, do we have, we should probably also ask the public if there's any discussion out there as well before we vote on this, because we kind of skipped that.
Who's talking?
And Ben, I believe?
They're saying they
Catherine's
can't hear.
computer is the one connected to audio. Catherine's muted.
What?
Catherine, your actual,
There we go.
can you hear now?
We're back.
Now we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Okay. Were you, so we have a motion on the floor, Amanda motion to reject all the bids and have Steve provide an alternate plan, either with more people or more equipment for power to be able to do the job, or to come back with bids from multiple companies to break up the massive amount of mowing into smaller jobs so that we can get bids on that. Deb seconded that. We did not have other discussion about that. So is there any discussion from the audience regarding that plan? I don't know that I can see everybody on my computer.
You should be able to if you scroll over. There's sometimes
I
an
see
arrow
8.
on the side.
Yeah, you can scroll down on the side.
It's all
Is there just 8 there?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, correct.
So I'm not seeing any discussion from the audience, so counselors will go to vote on this item. All those in favor of Amanda's amendment to reject the bids and have Steve provide an alternate plan, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. So Steve, you'll come back for the next meeting with some type of alternative plan. And do we need to do any other authorization to have him go back and get other bids if he breaks up the job, Catherine?
No, this is, what
This
we
is
talked
good.
about is fine, it's giving him the authorization.
Okay, so be creative. Find somebody to mow the grass.
I'm already.
It's a creative time.
Yeah,
Get you about 6 goats.
There we go.
150 goats, there we go.
There we go.
We
That'll
also
do
have
it.
local goat farms that'll be willing to bring their goats out to you.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
good.
it's a thing. Or sheep even. You find somebody with sheep.
They gotta have
They eat it down
insurance, they
to
gotta
the
have
house.
insurance though.
Yeah. All right. Next item, resolution 20-58 was also previously tabled.
Move we remove resolution 20-58 from the table.
Second.
So resolution 20-58, now not tabled, resolved that the town council appoint members to the new Parks and Recreation Committee, which combine the former Parks and Recreation Committee, Pinnacle Park Board, and Swimming Pool Committee.
All right, so counselors, all those in favor of removing this from the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, we will remove that from the table to be addressed. So it's untabled. Discussion, we have.
We have to move to adopt it, right?
Hold on.
Well, we took it off the table, so I think we're addressing it now. We have some information in our packet. Where did it go?
Yeah.
We have, the new committee formed. There were 3 people that were interested in being on the committee, and then we were also, so Ben Hall, Lindsay Turner, Devin Varney, and then, Jim Chintet was the other person there. Ben, this is, I guess, where we'll throw it to you here.
Yeah, we're really obviously excited, and can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. We're excited and glad we can kind of move this thing forward, obviously, in a little unique circumstances for a first get-together meeting, but looking to fill out that board, put out some feelers to make sure we have some interest and fill out the rest of those seats. And I've got three hard yeses from people that are interested and willing to step up and jump on the board to fill those other seats. Obviously, we'll go out to the public for anybody else to throw their hat in as well. Just do a little recruiting and make sure that we did not have interest to fill the rest of that. So I know a couple people got things on here, and he's going to jump in and be a part of it. And really looking forward to fill up those seats and figuring out how to schedule our first meeting and how to kind of get this thing rolling and really just do a lot of understanding and learning where we're at right now. And nailing down kind of the path forward and hopefully some easy wins out of the gate to obviously overcome some of the challenges we're currently facing and help the town with that.
So Devin, did you want to say anything?
I'm okay until we get to the pool section of the agenda.
To what?
Were you interested in serving on that committee
Yes, for one of the year-long.
for a
positions.
one year term?
Yes.
All right, that would be excellent. So we would have Ben Hall from the Pinnacle Park Board would have a 3-year term. Lindsay Turner from the Ad Hoc Skating Rink Committee would have a 3-year term. Jim Chintet from all kinds of committees, he's on several, would have a 1-year term, and Devin Varney would have a 1-year term. That would give us 4 of the 7 members, and we can advertise starting tomorrow for the other 3 members, and have the people that Ben has talked to file the application. They have a 1-page, very simple application, as well as anyone else who's interested, and then address that at the next meeting.
Catherine, if somebody's already a member of one of the committees that we kind of consolidated, do they need to file the application or just
No,
get in touch with this?
no, we're all
and,
set, we can appoint them this evening.
Okay.
And then anybody else who comes in from the public, we would have them fill out the form. It's very simple.
Okay, all right. Counselors, any discussion? Everyone's comfortable having those 4 people appointed for the terms discussed? So Ben Hall for 3 year, Lindsay Turner for 3 year, Devin Barney for 1 year, and Jim Chinchet for 1 year would be the proposal. And then that would get the committee started. We'll look for 3 more people to join, but they can get, they can start having meetings. No more discussion? Okay. So we will look for a motion to adopt this.
Move we adopt resolution 20-58.
Second.
Thank you. We kind of did that a little backwards. All those in favor of resolution 20-58 with the members previously discussed, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None hearing, that will pass. That brings us on to reports, council committees, finance, ordinance, and recycling. Finance committee?
Finance, we're meeting in June, so we haven't, this month, oh, it's June.
Next Thursday.
We're meeting next week on Thursday at, what did we say, 5 o'clock?
Yes, I put
Yeah.
it out an agenda and placed it, for the finance committee members and have confirmed the appointments with the banks.
And so, we really don't have anything to report on until after this meeting.
Thank you. Ordinance committee has not met. We're waiting for items from the planning board, who has a meeting next Monday. So hopefully, after that meeting, we'll either have items to address or we'll talk about things that they talked about, and we'll go from there. So we're kind of in a holding pattern until they have a regular meeting. Recycling committee, Tim, last time you were gonna kind of work with your committee members and see about having a meeting.
We have, Catherine put out a thing for the different people of different kinds that we can meet. We're shooting for the 3rd Wednesday of this month. Again, I'm waiting to hear back from certain people. I think it'll happen. I mean, I can't guarantee it, but it looks like that probably will happen. And I'll have more information once that meeting takes place in June.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are we gonna set a Zoom up for that too?
Yes.
For members?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
For those that wanna do it, and then the rest will come here.
Okay, sounds good. Board and committee updates by town councilors and town manager. I don't think we have any other councilor boards, so it would just be town manager.
All right, very good. Town manager's report. I'll be as brief as I can. Exciting times with everything starting up. So number one, we'd like to thank everybody again during the civil emergency. Everybody has worked together, done very well today as best as we can. We thank everybody for their ingenuity and support of not only the community, our businesses, our organizations in the town, but also of each other. Information is always changing and evolving. So as we have not been through a period of time such as this, and it's not completed as of yet, so we'll keep on trucking here. Number two, town office reopening. Our town office, as well as town offices across the state, fit under the governor's phase 2 opening, which is June 1st. We opened on June 1st and suggested that everybody not rush right down the first day. And so we've had just steady customers both days, and it's worked out really well. We'd like to thank our EMA director, Bernard Williams. He came to our rescue, building a large temporary shield for the front counter last weekend. As some of our petitions remain back ordered due to supply demand. Everybody seems to need a petition. So this was the one item that was holding up our reopening. And so he took care of that, and it looks really good. So we posted requirements for coming to the town office, and that has worked out well. We are fortunate with our setup. We seem crowded, but we're able to have 6 customers in the building at one time. A survey was done of the town managers in the towns, and most had 2 to 3, and one had 4. So we had the most customers inside. 3 at the windows and 3 waiting, and so that has worked out really well. To zip on here, to start the first week, the town office will be open to the public for services from 10 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Monday to Friday. The building inspector and assessor are available by appointment only. Customers and contractors may call 207-487-3136, extension 225 for the building inspector, and 228 for the assessor. Ultimately, we plan to get back to our regular hours of Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. and close Wednesdays. We do have a backlog of items that citizens need, so we want to serve them and get everything caught up. The earlier 2 hours in which the town office is not open to the public, we are here working, processing all the items that we're doing for those who cannot come into the office or wish to have remote services due to safety. So we'll adjust those hours as necessary with as much notice as possible depending on the situation. You never know. Every day the COVID-19 situation seems to change. We encourage everyone to utilize the online services for re-registrations for rapid renewal for the vehicles and the trailers, the boats and other services. We have a handout that is posted on the town website as well as outside for the public when they're coming in. And Facebook, these are very easy to use services in the convenience of your home and business. And if people can use these services, they don't have to wait in line. But there really hasn't been that much of a line. We usually have 6 to 8 people or less, so that's actually quite good. These are for re-registrations only, so once you get your new registrations done next year, you can use these services. So the other required safety measures we have is a one-way traffic flow. Customers enter from the back door where 95% of the public comes in anyway, or the large parking lot, and they exit through the front door, walking around the building down Connors Avenue to get back to their parking space. If somebody cannot make that walk, we have escorted and assisted them back through the building, taking care of them. And for anyone who needs to use the front building, front access for handicap accessibility, it's just as easier to walk on. They have been calling us so they can knock on the door and we will go let them in. The shields are up on the counter for the customer service windows. We have hand sanitizer available at each window and encourage its use. We tried to set this up so we would have the least number of items for people to touch, and we've had quite a few compliments on this. We'll be sanitizing and have sanitized all required implements throughout the day. Customers are encouraged to bring their own pens. We have pens, however, if somebody brings their own pen, they use it for business at various locations. They're the only person touching it, so that seems to make common sense. The downstairs is not available for use unless we have a meeting scheduled. So we thank everybody for their understanding, and people have been very pleased in most cases to see us, and we see all kinds of people we haven't seen for a few months. So that was good. So on the library front, for library services for June, our librarian indicates that for the past few weeks, the library has offered a quasi-curbside service in their elevator lobby. Patrons are able to request materials from the collection through the catalog, phone, email, Facebook, and our chat bubble on the website, and they used all of them. Beginning on June 1st, the library will be offering this service Monday through Friday from 10 to 5. They hope to begin allowing patrons in starting on Wednesday, June 3rd, so we'll see what goes on tomorrow, by appointment only. Folks who need to use the computers or the catalog will be able to make an appointment by phone, email, Facebook, or chat for 1 hour. They'll take a few minutes between the appointments to wipe everything down, wipe down the computers. Curbside will continue at least through June. So if everything goes well, Holly plans that by June 15th, they will begin allowing 10 people in at a time and limit that still to an hour. They'll have signs posted asking folks to wear masks and social distance. They want everybody to be able to get what they need to do and then leave. All programs will remain virtual for the summer, although they're hoping to have a small book group outside later on, so that's a good idea, outside. And then they go on about the different procedures that they're going through, like the town does. So that's all going well. Number 3, online services for town business. We have the online services for the renewals of the vehicles, trailers, boats, ATVs, hunting and fishing licenses. We have a nice handout that's available in the office. It is on the website, and it's referred to by the Facebook page, and so people can go directly to those sites. Once in a while, we've had 2 people indicate that when they went, the site didn't work, and I'm sure, we contacted the state, they said it was up and going, but I'm sure there are blocks of time because so many people are using these services, and they've had to expand them so much, which is why it took a while to get all the rest of the towns on, that there are periods of time that are high traffic in which it just simply doesn't work. But when it does work, it's excellent and very quick. We tested out a few of our items that we had come up for ourselves before we advertised this, and it did work really well. Number 4, we have a new registration list. We know that new registrations can be complicated with all the paperwork involved. So we've updated and refined a list of items that are needed for A, new vehicle registrations, B, used vehicles, which are a dealer sale, and C, required for used vehicles as a private sale. So this was created and placed at the town office as a handout as one comes in the building on the town's website, and links were placed on the Facebook page. Number 5, Department of the Secretary of State Bureau of Motor Vehicles. The main office and branch offices of the Bureau of Motor Vehicles opened or reopened on June 1st, being stage 2, similar to the towns. So they opened on June 1st for visits as appointments only, and these are for only items that have to be in-person transactions, absolutely needed. So we have numbers that we've advertised on the website, Facebook page, and here in the office, in which people can call up and go over the item that they need and get an appointment. We publicized this as much as possible because when we saw it in the media, it just talked about how they were open, and we didn't want people to drive all the way down, not have an appointment, and then have to drive all the way back up. So we have the main office numbers in Augusta, Bangor, as well as all the other satellite offices. Number 4, transfer station new fee system. This was to go into effect on June 1st, and we changed that and pushed it back to August 1st. In mid-June, we'll start a very active campaign to promote getting the stickers ahead of time, contacting the known contractors who use the facility, and getting everything set up with signs and everything. We felt it was prudent to address all the registrations first and not introduce into the lines the new dump stickers and explaining that out and everything. So that will be coming out in the next couple of weeks, and that will be a major emphasis for advertising. Number 5, transfer station upgrade. We're very pleased to announce that the electrical upgrade has been authorized for the transfer station to update the electrical, get it ready for the building move. The transfer station coordinator is waiting to hear back from CMP regarding the shut-off. The plan is to have the power shut off on a Saturday evening at closing. The electrician will come in to remove the old service and install the new upgrade, which is, when they put in the old service, it probably wasn't as higher quality in terms of the amount of power as it should have been. So we'll get a new upgrade, which will be very good. This should take no more than 2 days, and the plan is to have the power turned back on Monday afternoon. And so the meter will have been moved and the building will be placed on site. So this will be absolutely wonderful. Number 6, the last item, nomination papers for District 2 Town Councilor seat. We did not receive any nomination papers for the seat. We contacted the town attorney to determine if the law at this point in time will allow for write-ins, and if so, we'll issue the directions on how to do that. There's no time to file for an official write-in position, which always happens with all the elections. We've been advised, depending on the exact circumstances, that in the past we could count the write-ins at least the last time. So I will have that answer shortly, and we will make sure that everybody has that information. The next election will be in July, on July 12th, in which we'll have our councilor election on with the primary special election referendum. We have a link on the town's website so that people can request an absentee ballot for the state primary special election referendum. We know a lot of people aren't comfortable going out, so we're going to promote this quite a bit so that those people who can vote absentee will be able to do that and feel safe. Thank you so much.
In this election, that's coming up, does that include the school budget?
Yes, it'll be, well, I believe it will, they indicated it would, and then I did get some information that they were looking at different dates on, like, the budget hearing, so yes, I believe it will be the school budget too.
Are they gonna come and, present the budget?
They sent information to us, if you would like them to come in, we can schedule that.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if that was.
I think
Coming up or
normally
not.
they would have come in, however, you know, we were in a lot of towns still haven't opened up to public and having people in their meetings, and we're able to have a few people here, we moved everything around so we could have at least 6, and we could squeeze in another one if we had to. So yes, we can ask them to come in if you would like, so think about that.
Catherine, with the school budget though, the possibility of the vote turnout on Friday in Burnham, is that part of the holdup too? Because that'll change the budget, right?
That is an integral part of the
I thought so.
overall budget, yes, and the school, in the note that I got today, I don't have any details, but they indicated they had gone back and done some more cutting of the budget, so they're gonna send us more information, but
Okay.
it would be after the vote, in Burnham.
Okay, thank you.
And they envision having any money left after this year without having to have teachers in, and
I think that's
some
part of it.
some districts have asked for half their money back.
I think we can ask them a few questions, I'm sure this has been trying times for everyone. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding what Catherine went over, Counselor? Okay. Next item, new business, order 20-08.
Move we adopt order 20
Catherine's gotta read it.
Yes.
Oh,
I have it
sorry.
right here, that's okay. I'll zip along here.
Apologies.
Order 20-08, order that the town council amend the town of Pittsfield fee schedule for reimbursements to reflect current advertising fees.
Deborah.
Move we adopt order 20-08.
Second.
Thank you. Alright, audience, any discussion on order 20-08 before the counselor discusses? This is regards to, changing the fee schedule for the planning board public hearings, board of appeals public hearings, tax increment financing. This is in regards to advertising requirements for these events at these boards, and changing our proposed fee schedule to reflect the actual cost of advertising, correct?
Yes, so this is basically to cover the cost of advertising, and as we know, the papers are getting thinner and thinner, and the fees are going up to support the papers, so advertising costs were shockingly quite expensive. We did have an applicant that had come in previous to this proposed change this evening, and he volunteered to pay the real cost, and so we're not making any money, we're just covering our costs.
Okay. And you had mentioned before that there was, that towns have been asking the state to change the state law to make it so that we can, because we don't really have a daily newspaper that covers our area per se, but we do have our weekly newspaper that everybody reads. So that would be a more effective way to
Certainly.
let people know.
It would be, yes.
So,
And there have been numerous attempts over all the time I've been a town manager, and I'd say about a
Look at me.
decade
I'm looking
ago.
at you.
I know why you're looking at me.
About a decade ago was the last effort that was made, and the daily newspapers come in and lobby, and the law has not changed. But the Maine Municipal Association has looked at this several times. When the town had more money, we advertised in both, so the legal requirement under the law for our ordinances, resolutions, and orders, and then we advertised to get additional information out in the Rolling Thunder. But when the budgets got cut, and there were less revenues in 2009, we stopped doing that and just went for the legal requirements. But now we have other resources, and information's on the website and Facebook and everything. So we'll try to cover things as best as we can in other means.
Okay. I am not seeing any chat information on anybody coming forward to talk about this. Anybody in the audience here want to say anything about this? Counselors, discussion about the advertising costs.
And I don't think we should be subsidizing it, so it makes sense to raise it when the fees have gone up.
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
So this wasn't included in our budget, or it was,
What?
for this increase? Was it included in our budget, or not?
It's not the increased amount for us to pay, Pete, it's for the people
It's a
making the
reimbursement.
applications to pay.
Okay.
So basically, it
I thought
costs
this was our
X.
fees for advertising.
This is gonna cover our fees for advertising.
Yes.
So right now, people are only paying $98.25 for an application to the planning board
It's
to have a
actually
public
costing
hearing.
us $320.
But it's costing us more like $320 to actually place the ads in the Bangor Daily News.
Got it.
And that's very recent that
That's
it's
what I
gone up
missed.
that high.
Yeah.
I missed that part.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that we have that requirement to have that, because, you know, if you want a new business to come to town, and that you just, the first thing you have to tell them is, okay, it's $300 before we can even schedule a public hearing, so that we can, you know, have that happen for you. I think it's unfortunate that that's the reality of what we have to do, but it's the reality of what we have to do.
We're not the only ones that have to do it either. I mean,
No, every town is gonna have to do it.
If it's a small site plan review and something, you know, that fits into the neighborhood, that's small, they may not have a public hearing, so there's not a cost, but on the larger projects, they definitely do have a public hearing.
Okay. Okay, counselors, let's vote on resolution, where are we? Nope, I'm sorry, order 20-08. All those in favor of changing the fees as proposed, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. Resolution 20-59.
Resolution 20-59, resolved that the town council act as necessary due to the civil emergency regarding the Pittsfield Recreation Program.
Move we adopt resolution 20-59.
Second.
Thank you. All right.
So
we'll go-
this basically has three components, and we have, one of the individuals that's involved in a component on the Zoom, one is here in the audience, and one is at home and can be reached by cell phone if necessary. So basically, we have let's start with the Little League program. We have Kyle here this evening, who's been working hard on this and come up with plans. And then we'll go to Devin with the swimming program, and Devin is on Zoom. And then if we have questions for Susie, we'll deal with those on the summer programming. And so this has come up because it's not an easy item to run summer programming for recreation. A number of towns are not running their programs, but others are starting to come forward, like the town of Pittsfield, to see how we can run those. And so I would break this up into three components, and then you've got your motion on the floor.
Okay.
But, so the motion's gonna have to be voted, all three are gonna be under
No.
one?
Well, we'll have the
We'll see.
discussion.
We're gonna have a discussion,
We'll
but
see
it's
what
still
happens.
only one vote.
You might need three, or you might need one.
Or it could be just one amendment with three different parts.
Correct, and it's unusual to have an item that says to act as necessary, but these are unusual situations.
So we will see here. Devin, do you want to take the floor and talk about the pool first?
I thought we were gonna do Little League first.
Catherine
Oh,
mentioned
I'm sorry.
having Mr. Gilson talk about the Little League program first. I
Okay,
just-
we'll do that then.
Yeah, whatever works.
He was blocked by the chat thing. I couldn't see him. I'll move that over. There you are. Hi, Kyle. Oh, there we go.
I don't have anything to do with the Little League program.
This time.
Yeah, we've got Kyle in the
Oh, I'm
audience.
sorry. We've got a Kyle there and a Kyle there.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
that's unusual to have two Kyles.
Do you mind, Catherine, if I pass this
Go
up?
right ahead, yes, thank you. We've got some updated requirements.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a project in development.
So
Thanks for the opportunity to talk. I think Little League, everyone would tell you it's a great experience for kids, and whether for the social aspect or just the fun of it, or even if you're terrible at it and scared of the ball, you get something out of it. You learn to be resilient. And so it's a great experience for kids, and I think it's important that we can give our kids this opportunity if we can do it safely. So I've done quite a bit of homework, and I've looked at a lot of CDC stuff, a lot of stuff from the state, a lot of stuff from the Little League organization itself, and I've worked with Susie and some of the other coaches, and I think we can do this in a way that's safe and gives the kids this opportunity to play this year. So if you'd like, I could take you down. I've kind of boiled down lots of different information to about 10 points that I would suggest we kind of run things by to make it safe. The first one would be, in the past few years, we've combined with Newport, Elmira, St. Albans, Etna, Corona, and probably at least one town I'm missing. And we travel around for Little League games, suggesting this year that we suspend participation in that Sebastopol Valley Little League, and we play exclusively in Pittsfield with the kids from our school district to avoid sort of travel and any exposure we don't need. And the folks at the Sebastopol Valley Little League are understanding of that and understand logic. It sounds stupid, but other little things: no high fives, no post-game handshakes, no spitting, no touching mouths, no sunflower seeds. So a lot of focus on hygiene, right? One of the more important things that leagues are doing is assigning one parent as sort of the sanitation czar for each team to make sure helmets and bats are wiped down between uses and the dugout area is kept clean. We'd like to just have one umpire this year. Usually we have two umpires. This year we would say one umpire behind the pitcher, safely away from the pitcher, instead of having an umpire crouched behind the catcher. Just cut down on the risk a little bit. And then the social distancing practices in practice and in the dugout are important. Our dugouts are 30 feet long, so we could put maybe 4 kids in a dugout, but while a team is batting, we need something to do with the other 5 or 6 kids. So if you think about our field out here, we have 4 sets of bleachers. So we'd have four kids in the dugout, and we'd have the other 5 kids spaced out on the first set of bleachers adjacent to the dugout. So those sets of bleachers adjacent to the dugouts would be for players only. And that would allow us to corral the kids, but keep them separate and not have them out running around or climbing the fence. During practice, in drills, we try to keep the kids spaced 6 feet. Although if a kid's sliding into second base and someone's tagging him, that's sort of part of the game. And I want to mention on all of this that baseball has been deemed as sort of a low-risk sport by the powers that be at like the high school level and things of that nature. We feel that masks are problematic for kids. The healthcare officials are actually saying kids in sports in masks don't mix. They can have breathing problems, they can have other problems, get them over their eyes. So in general, we thought about piling them all in the dugout but wearing masks, but we've decided with heat in sports, you're going to cause more harm by doing that than keeping them spaced out and not wearing masks. We would have screening questions before activities, consistent with the CDC recommendations, and just, if anyone has a fever or they have anything over 100 in a temperature, they just can't participate. We would not run the concession stand this year, which is kind of a bummer because it's a good way to fund the league. And we would encourage sort of household-specific and family social distancing at games. I think it makes sense for families to sit together, but family units have to be sort of spaced out between each other. And we would keep parents out of the dugouts, which is always a rule anyway. And then we would play an abbreviated season. We would have sort of a registration night soon because we need to get going. But in all, the season would probably be kind of like 2/3 of what it would normally be. And the games would be much less. We're probably looking at 8 to 10 games instead of 14 to 17 games. I think when you look at the county, we live in a county of 50,000 people. There's 5 cases of COVID that are active right now. And statistically speaking, 2% of cases are kids. So I think it would be, the numbers would point to me to, I don't see a good reason to cancel Little League and not give these kids a chance to play if we can do it safely, and I think we have the volunteers and prudent people in the town to be able to pull it off, and I'd like your consideration to go forward.
Do we want to take them one by one and discuss Little
Yeah.
League first?
I mean, I don't have any issue.
Can we see before we discuss if there's anybody in the audience?
Is there anyone in the audience
That
that
has
has
anything
anything
to
else
add?
to say about Little League?
I would like to share, but probably what I have to offer is going to be more encompassing of
Who's speaking?
all of
This is
the
Kyle
programs
Wilson.
in general. So I'm fine to wait until after we've heard about Little League, swimming pool, and whoever else might be on the agenda.
So we'll have him
People need
announce,
to,
we'll have him announce his name when.
Yeah.
thank you.
So some items that have been mentioned, I've tried to run this past a few people, and we have our health officer here this evening, Donnie Shu. And so the thermostats, I think is definitely important, which you've mentioned.
I just want to clarify, I wasn't advocating that we take their temperatures, although we can do it if someone has a thermometer and they want to donate it to Leaf. It would be more of a screening process where you question the kid and their parent as they show up. Has he had a fever? Is he hot to the touch? But I wasn't advocating that we take their temperatures, although if that's what it takes to play, I'm game.
So that's something we have to have Donnie talk about or look at in the CDC requirements. Another item that's come up is signing, which we can do. We're going to have proper signings in order to make sure everybody understands what's going on, but also for the town's liability. Because normally we have, for outdoor recreational activities, the town is covered under the Tort Claims Act as being immune. So there's no liability. There's only the fact that if you're sued, you have to pay your legal fees, basically. So there's costs involved. And of course, we don't want anything to go wrong, and we have had many years of wonderful services and everything in projects. It's been suggested, because it's going to be hard to keep the people setting 6 feet away on the bleachers, that we not have those in use and ask people to bring their lawn chairs and then set as their family groups or singly, however they all are together in the household. So that may be something that would be helpful, but your plan is extremely well thought out. So I'll
And he's
leave
got
that to
one, he's gonna use one set of bleachers, so we'd only have to remove one set. He's using one set for players.
Yeah, there's 4 bleachers, and 2 of them will be used by players. That leaves 2 in the middle. I don't know that they're real practical to remove them. They're probably, maybe put some, if you don't want anyone using them, maybe caution tape or something,
we'll
but they're
block
very
them off.
awkward to move.
Yeah, we don't need to move anything more than we have to, so we would just block those off.
I'll just say there was a comment in the chat here that S. Conley said, it sounds like a well thought out plan, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it is.
It is
Donnie, do you
comprehensive.
Donnie, do you have any other input as far as the Little League plan concerns or?
I'm in touch every day with Maine Responders and Maine CDC. I did look over Kyle's plan. Very, very well written. He's done his homework. And because it's an expansive area, obviously, over there at Half-Home Park, he's got plenty of room to work with. A couple of concerns that I had was, the one addressing was to make sure that we took the kids' temperature. What happens is kids will lie to their parents about, we see this a lot in sports, they lie to their parents about not feeling good so they can go play their basketball or baseball game, and then you find out halfway through that they're sick and probably should have been playing in sports. And if he needs a thermometer, I'm sure we can get him one. Just to make sure that they're not over that 100.3, that's the recommendation.
So do they have those that multiple kids can use it?
Yeah, they got one they got a little heat gun that you just go up and
They just point it out, yeah.
Point it at their forehead. It'll take a temperature. I'll see about what we're going to make sure we get one that program.
LPSV might be willing to do that.
That or something that's from the state, I'm sure we can find something. The other thing is again, the cordon off the bleachers. One of the things, it's probably not the kids and the coaches that make me worry, because you have pretty good control over them. It's gonna be the people that are attending to watch. And one of my recommendations was not to use the bleachers, because again, trying to sanitize and keep people from not sitting too close together, was to maybe have them sit in family units, but to bring their own lawn chairs. And that way they could sit in their family units and keep that social distancing, so they could enjoy the game in their little pods of family units for the kids or whatever. And I think, you know, it's out in the wide open. It's not something that there's a whole lot of worry as far as I'm concerned. Same way with these things. I don't think there's no need to wear them masks or anything anyway. They are prohibited. We build up a lot of CO2 in these masks, and it's going to cause kids to hyperventilate. So I think his plan's great. If we can do just doing a quick check, and that's on the coaches and honesty system, boom, 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 just let them know that the kids are under 100.3 and let them play ball. Let them get outside and breathe some of the air. I don't think there's probably less chance of catching it there than it is in other places.
So Donnie, you touched on one of the concerns that I had, and having people not be able to use the bleachers and having the concession stand closed addressed two of the issues that I had with it. The other thing that I was concerned about is not just the, you know, it's a social thing and it's an activity for the kids, it is for the parents as well. And I think my kids are grown, but I'm sure every parent is ready for a little parent-to-parent interaction right now. You know, so they need to get out of the house as well as the kids. You know, so it does become a social gathering for all of those parents and the grandparents. We have a small park right nearby that is going to be inundated with small children during the game because they need to be kept occupied while their older brothers or sisters are playing. So that was another concern that I had, was, you know, having the park there for that as well. My kids are grown, but I still remember the days of taking them to the Little League. So that was a concern that I had, was that the park was going to be there as well, and then that could be a place that could be a place of concern.
And usually the police and the coaches are pretty good in the same way with the umpires. And I've been over there to games before, and we've had interactions in the past where you get a lot of kids on the other end of the fence that try to do something on that other end of the field or whatever. So again, you've got some pretty good moderators there that they know that how important this is, and they can be trusted to moderate those kids. And if there's something going on, and we've got a lot of those other kids that are coming from that basketball court end or something coming up, I think we're going to trust the coaches to address it, say, hey, listen, you got social distancing here, kids. We need you to, you know, back off a little bit. And again, that has to do with a little bit of parental.
I was gonna say that's.
So are we not?
Sometimes that doesn't happen. You notice there'll be a group of kids over there playing basketball.
Well, I was thinking more of like the toddlers and the preschoolers and the elementary kids that go over to the playground to play all at once, you know, and then go back to their family units. You know, that's microbiology there, you know.
I will tell you that I went to school, I got a college degree in virology and microbiology and chemistry. That's why I'm such a good hazmat guy. And if you look at the percentages, it's 0.007% of the infection rate. And that's not counting all of the people that could have had it and got over it that just went home and self-quarantined. So, I mean, if you're really looking at the numbers, about 94% of the people were over age 70 that really had a problem with it in this state. Somerset County, we've been lucky. We've been real lucky. You know, there's been a lot of counties. I think we've learned real well about social distancing, and I think this can happen. I think we need to have an avenue for the kids. If not, they're going to be finding other things to do that are not going to be so productive. So I'd rather see them out there swinging the bat and the ball than they would going out, hanging out, and doing things they're not supposed to be doing.
Kyle, how many kids, if you're talking about just in Pittsfield, what are the ages, and are you going to have, like, broaden the age group a little bit in order to have enough kids to be able to field enough teams to play with each other, or?
So this plan hinges on Pittsfield, Detroit, and Burnham kids. That's traditionally, that's how the rec program sort of is put together. I'd like to have 3 teams, and we need roughly 33 kids to do that, 30 to 33 kids. If we only get enough for 2, I think I know my son would rather just play 8 games against his
Just
team
play
and
the
just
game
go.
for fun.
Now, to your question though, this would be Little League ages 9 through 12. If we don't have quite enough, if we need a couple of players, we'll grab a couple 8-year-olds that are advanced enough to play. But it becomes a safety issue if we start grabbing
Too young.
kids who aren't ready. And we definitely don't want to grab kids who are older because they're too strong with a bat, and that's a safety hazard.
Yeah.
So this all, assuming we can get approval tonight, we would have to have a little bit of a sign-up night and see if we have at least 20 kids to be able to do this. In years past, we've had 45 kids in our Little League program, but lacrosse has put a little dent in it, and with the COVID concerns, I don't know what to expect. I'm hoping we can get between 25 and 35.
Deborah?
Yeah, my only comment, I think the plan is great. And you've definitely done your homework. But at some point, there has to be personal responsibility. And parents need to be paying attention to their kids who might not be doing social distancing. We cannot take on the role of the parent. So if the spectators are not doing the social distancing, you can't stop them. You can't make them do it. And I think that falls onto the parents, not the town.
So I also just want to voice a concern, and I know that it's a contentious point, but temperature checks don't work. There's a study in New York City, only 25% out of 5,000 people had temperatures as part of their thing. There are many other, as you know, I'm sure, things that go along with this. And I think, yes, I agree that kids want to pretend that they're feeling better than when they are because they want to participate in their things. I remember being that kid. I don't care that I was throwing up last night. I want to go play my saxophone at the state meet. I understand that. But again, that goes under the accountability of the parents.
Exactly.
And knowing HIPAA laws, the way that I know HIPAA laws, though there are accommodations made for companies for their employees to come in, I don't think as a town we can allow, like Kyle here, to take the temperatures. Because then he'll know that that family has a kid with a temperature, should he have a temperature. And that is, I think, a legal area that we want to stay away from. University of Maine wanted to take temperatures of all their employees, and our legal team said no, because it opens us up for a possible lawsuit.
Well, it kind of overlooks the fact too that you can be asymptomatic and still be a carrier, which children are more like carriers than, expressing those symptoms. So they could be a carrier and not know it because they don't have a temperature.
Absolutely. In North Dakota, they did a random testing of asymptomatic people, 600 people in these are people working in the medical fields. Asymptomatic, 32 people were positive out of 600. So I don't think it's worth the risk of a HIPAA lawsuit when it's such a low amount of people. Now, you guys can overrule me, and that's fine. You're the
Well,
EMA
it's a
person.
requirement for them to be able to participate. And you can set those parameters. It's either one or the other, and they just had this, I just saw this out of Connecticut, they were doing this for the same, where they have a football league. They actually mandated that the kids had to show a negative test. And them tests were $240 a piece, and they lost 3/4 of their program, so they decided to cancel the program rather than do it. But they also a judge ruled in Connecticut that that's a condition of the program, is that if you want to participate, because you've got rights, you got HIPAA law, but if you're infected with an infectious disease, and you're saying, well, I'm pulling my HIPAA law, you can't make me tell you if I'm sick and go in. There's legal ramifications for the person that infected you. It's actually criminal under civil emergency. Department of Homeland Security. That is, it's criminal. So if I know that I'm sick, or I know my kid's sick, and I let them participate, and they get somebody else sick, it's a violation of the civil emergency. So there is some laws that they put out there for that. It's one of the requirements. If you don't want your kid to play, then you don't want them to have your temperature taken, then they're not going to play. They're not going to play. We're not going to take, I don't want to put that on responsibility on his shoulders. Letting him know that he had a kid come in that was sick. Granted, some of them are asymptomatic, but I'll tell you, you get kindergarten kids and the younger kids that are in preschool, I'll tell you, the germaphobes, they're the ones that bring everything home. They're the ones that, I mean, there's nothing that we can do about it. They're basically the best carriers. They're the petri dish. And they may not be sick, but they come home and they get me very sick, and they get everybody else that's got maybe an intolerable immune system sick. But we can make it a condition of the program. And we gotta be able to give a comfort to some of the other families that we're not letting possibly infect the kids' blood.
I still feel it comes down to personal responsibility.
You betcha.
Period. If parents are gonna lie and let their children who are sick play, then they should suffer the consequences.
I will tell you right now, after about 11 to 12 weeks, most parents are ready to kick the kids out. They don't care if they're sick or not. They just want them out of the house. I can guarantee you that.
So one question that I have is if we did make temperature checks part of the program for Little League, are we going to extend that to all of the rec programming and have it be a condition of all of our rec programming, whether they're going to take an art class or a skills class or go to the pool? Is that going to be across the board, this is a requirement? Because I kind of feel like if we're going to do it for one situation that we're saying is the lowest type of
Then we're gonna have to have
exposure,
multiple of
then
those
we
no
should have
touch
it for
zones.
all of them.
You're gonna have the ones that you can wave across their forehead as long as you got something there to sanitize it when you do it. Instead of just a regular sanitizer.
I think that to proceed with caution, I think that you're absolutely right. I think you're gonna have, I'm in favor of this. I want the Little League to happen. I do think you should take the temperature. It's a responsibility thing. It's up to the parents in the end, but the bottom line is if they take them, and that, oh God, my child's got a fever of 99.4. I don't really think I want him playing.
But
Sometimes the parents don't realize it.
Think about it from this standpoint. You guys are taking it from the wrong side. What about the employees?
Yeah.
That my number one care here too as a safety coordinator is to make sure I protect my employees.
Yeah.
So now you're saying, well, we're just gonna let anybody, we're gonna trust everybody, well, this person's sick, the next thing you know, you've got somebody that's got infected in the summer rec program, then we're gonna shut the whole thing down.
Are you gonna take the temperature of all the parents too?
Are they gonna have direct contact with the coaches? They shouldn't be over in the dugouts. They shouldn't be having.
Well, the kids shouldn't be
I'm
having
being
direct contact either.
facetious.
Well, the other thing is, if you have an afro, any place that you have where you have a gathering of different kids, they should take the temperature, and if they got a fever, then they can't participate. It's a precautionary thing, is all it is.
Right, but to answer your question, the parent that is in the dugout and the coaches and the umpire, anyone that's in close proximity and participating in the program in whatever way should, if that becomes part of the program requirements, that should be extended to everyone participating, whether it's a volunteer or not. So, I mean, I would say that if you can't say we're gonna just do the kids, because it's not just the kids. If you have a parent in there sanitizing the equipment and touching all the equipment and then giving it to the kids, and interacting with them in the dugout, that parent or whoever that volunteer is also needs to fall under that guideline, as well as the coaches and the umpire.
Women's got direct.
Because it's the same way with employers with these things. There are some people, it's not the state law for you to have these on.
That's right.
It's not. It's a violation of constitutional right. But there are people that are refusing business if you don't wear them. So if you want to go shop in a store that you want to go buy something, if they make the rule, it's their store, that you got to wear one of these, you will wear one of them. Or you won't get the service. They have the right not to give you that service.
I'll just go shop somewhere else.
And I'm thinking we're making concessions with these things. We're making a lot of concessions with the kids because we want to have this program. I think taking 3 seconds to, even if it's one of those one touches that you go over, take a temperature and wipe it on a sanitizer wipe and go to the next kid and do that.
I know as an essential service person, you have to do that every day.
Right. And I'm just thinking more of the employees too. We got interactions with the employees. You're gonna have pool employees. They're gonna have kids at the pool coming in and out. And in one time, you
So
know.
what are the guidelines for a group gathering?
Right now, we can have 50 people.
Correct.
Up to 50 people, so
Yeah.
don't,
Where?
remember, it's based on
Please
square
speak
footage.
up because I
people.
can't hear you.
It's based on square footage.
How many
You can have up to 50 people,
Cap limit
depending
number
on
of
what the
people.
square footage of the place is.
Where?
But I know,
In
like right
gathering.
now,
50 people.
my daughter's graduation,
So you can have
I
50
have to
people
sit
in
in
a
the car.
gathering like to play.
and they can't have
Well, it's
more
based
than
on, that's what he was
50.
saying, it's based on square footage. You can't put
Right,
50
it
people here.
depends on the.
You know,
Oh,
you
no,
have
I
lots of
understand
people, but
that,
it's
but
square
they're-
footage.
But they're talking about outside, aren't
Yeah.
You
they?
gotta sort of keep
Okay.
track of that. You
Yes.
put two teams
So,
together.
all right. Well,
Okay,
we're gonna
can we get back on track?
Catherine,
One
And you
time,
call
something to say.
hands with keep-
we're gonna have
Steve,
one
Steve.
talk at once there.
none of us can hear you because you're facing the wrong way and you're wearing a mask.
Well,
All right.
anyway,
Very good. From the research that's been done, we understand that having the thermometer, doing the temperature check is an item that can be a condition of the program. Donnie is correct. Furthermore, you can make it a part of the waiver form that's signed and add items regarding COVID-19. And there's a couple of towns that have done this, and we've received copies of their information because the towns are all talking about how to run their summer recreation programs. It's probably going to be half aren't going to and half are going to try. And so we're in the part that's trying to do that as a positive measure. So there can be a new waiver form that Susie Morton, the rec director, has looked at the one that I've located, and she's all set with that, and it probably would be used for all the programs. But we would have to talk about, and I think that Heather's correct, if we're going to take the temperatures in one program, we have to do it in all of them.
True.
Absolutely. All you need to have is just one of those thermometers that you just point it right at your forehead, you pull the trigger and you just keep trying, you just keep it tapping.
Do we have any other Little League specific questions?
Anything that's over 100.3.
So I have a major concern with the Little League one. These others, the kids are being assigned their equipment. I have a problem with the Little League because of the handling of the bats and the helmets. And I know that it stated that there's gonna have a parent that's gonna disinfect them, but that's not even feasible. To me, if they're gonna have a small league, then they should be assigned their equipment, assigned their helmets, find a bat they like, they get assigned the bat. Because to me, you just can't not disinfect.
And so what do they put their names on the bat?
Well, no, it'd be theirs
Yeah,
for that season.
Yeah, take it with them.
That's what all these other programs
Or even,
do.
I mean, you could even just do it for the game. How frequent are your games? Once a
It's
week?
not practical. I mean, so on a Little League team, you might,
You don't have
So-
to take the equipment home.
just context-wise, a lot of kids have their own bat. So there won't be, let's say there's 10 kids on the team, 6 of them probably have their own bat, they're not sharing bats. They might even have their own helmet. But those other 4 kids, like, it's very, like, there might be, it's very size dependent, and
Yeah.
trust me, we're not flush with equipment in Pittsfield. Like, if we've got can I get a box of balls? Like, that'll be good, you know, I mean, like, it's just not practical,
But I
but
realize that, but we're talking about the future of a program that might continue in the future, and this may be the new thing. You cannot, so a bat's a little easier to disinfect, but a helmet, you're not gonna get every little crevice.
yeah, but I mean, they're talking about the bill, I mean,
You're still not gonna get every crevice. So I'm not.
And you're not gonna 100% clean anything. If I can add to this, it's the same way. You guys got a pen upstairs, and you thinking you rubbing that pen every time to disinfect that is doing any good. Hand sanitizers that you put on your hands, 7 minutes after you guys use that, I can take a swab of bacteria off your hands, and you have the same bacteria there. Alcohol evaporates, it gets a little stuff on the top. The problem is we're trying to make everything too sterile. You make everything too sterile, you wear these
Then
for a year,
we will
and then when you
increase
take them
the
off,
number of
everybody's gonna
cases.
die from the regular flu, they're gonna die
Yeah.
from the chicken pox, they're gonna die from everything. There's a fear thing, it's just like those pens upstairs, so everybody that comes in upstairs and signs the form for registration, do we give them a new pen every time? Because you can't disinfect that pen. Again, it's an uncertainty thing, and I know what you're talking about, Pete.
I mean, I want to,
for the kids.
I want to see the little,
Okay.
like, there
I mean,
is
so
some difference with
you
the
can't sterilize everything with 100% certainty. I can't even do it with my hazmat suits for the state. If I go with chlorine, I can't with 100% certainty say that I'm
We
gonna get
could,
it.
you know, like I said, we used to have, like 45 kids, I expect maybe 30. There's a chance we could have, most of the kids have their own helmet. There's a chance, we have to go over and do an inventory. We can certainly, try that, and we can, maybe come up with other creative ways, like brothers share a helmet and stuff like that.
Are they keeping their baseball hat on, their cap on under the helmet when they're wearing the helmet?
No.
Okay.
And that's another thing, we will probably this is gonna have to be an informal year because of time restrictions. We're probably not gonna order uniforms and new hats, and I'll be lucky if we can scrounge up a box of new baseballs. So there's that whole, it's actually, I think that we ought to talk about the fees too. I think reducing the fees would probably be appropriate, because it's gonna be about half as intense as people normally. They're not gonna get a full season and the uniforms and all that, and that's just a consideration.
Yeah.
So I also
That
had-
makes a lot of sense.
I also had a couple more things.
Yeah.
So, per the CPC guidelines that we got given in our packet here, I have highlighted some of the main restarting Maine's economy. I'm not sure if it's the first page or, it might be the first page. And so down it has, it has a paragraph, at this time indoor trainings with social distancing may be prudent. These guidelines focus on maximum opportunity, social distancing, keeping small distinct cohorts of participants wherever possible to this end. Travel teams and scrimmages between teams in the same community are strongly discouraged. And then, if you flip over to the next page, another concern that I have along with the helmets is the hygiene. So I'm assuming there's going to have to be hand sanitizer, but there also has to be a way for the kids to wash their hands, because if they're sliding in the dirt, sliding in the base, and that's what, in this one, right here in hand hygiene, it's important. This is an important mitigation strategy, yet many sports activities occur in locations without restroom facilities and with hand washing. Hand sanitizer with a minimum of 60% alcohol should be used frequently, providing a method to rinse hands before applying hand sanitizer is the recommendation for situations where participants may become dirty or dusty. So there's another factor along with the helmets on why I have a little bit of trouble with the.
Is there still a spigot down there? I remember when I was playing, there was a spigot attached to the, can that be turned on? They can rinse and then sanitize?
There's a bathroom.
There's restrooms there too.
I didn't know if that would be open because of everything going on with
Then you gotta look at
Well, we
sanitizing.
would open it.
I would
if we
think
had
that you probably for the league, that's, again, something you have to look at, porta potty,
Somebody had to be in the sanitized bathroom in the studio.
Well, that's why I didn't think we were opening the bathrooms,
Right.
because that will cause a whole different
Right.
issue.
So those are my two major concerns with the Little League, and not so much as the scrimmage one, because, hey, but more so the helmets and the way they need to be able to have a way to clean their hands and be able to use sanitizer.
We can definitely do an inventory of the helmets and, assign, maybe if we have to, assign the helmets to the kids we have, and then if some kids have to share helmets, that's just the way it is, I guess. And some kids will bring their own helmets.
I think with
So I think the
Little
helmets we can get most of the way there. We definitely, hand sanitizer is part of the plan. And I don't know if you were able to purchase some in bulk that we could, I know it's hard to find.
Wow.
But
We have some, yes, it's taken a while.
And
I mean,
we'll
those
have
are
to make a decision on the bathroom. I think it's one of those things like Vanson Park last year, they wouldn't open the bathroom for the rec games. You had kids crapping their pants. It's like, you maybe create one problem by trying to be smart one place. I mean, I think we ought to have the bathroom open if we're gonna have
And again,
20,
guys,
if we're gonna have 20 kids there playing baseball, we ought to have the bathroom open. That's gotta
Well, it's
happen.
not just the 20 kids, it's all their families are there as well.
Right.
and again, you guys are failing to look at the statistics. You're gonna have a kid break or sprain their leg, sprain their ankle more down there than anybody ever catch something. Again, that's the big thing. We don't wanna be so restricted. We might as well just throw all of the programs, we might as well come out of our house for the next 6 months.
Think we get,
I think with Little League, we're going to have, and I mean, I understand your concern with the helmets and stuff like that, but you've got a ball that a pitcher is pitching and another kid is catching. It's going to happen. It's in as part of the game. Unfortunately, that is the nature of, and it's the reason that I have a concern when it comes to Little League, but I really want these kids to have something to do, and parents have to decide whether or not it's worth the risk if they are truly concerned about it, about enrolling their kids in these any of our rec programs. And I just think that it's part of what's going to go on, and I would hate to take another thing away from these kids who have suffered losing their entire spring sports season.
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying we need to add some things.
And I can understand them, you know, you see a picture up there, the ones that like to lick their fingers or whatever, and then they toss the ball. I mean, that's a bad habit, I've seen it out there.
Yeah, we'll have to stop that.
But one of the things is, again, you gotta think about how we're gonna live. If the parents are gonna sign them up for the program, they obviously know there's gonna be some sort of a risk. And we're gonna try to do everything to minimize the risk of that exposure at our disposal. But at the end of the day,
You can't do it all.
it's an airborne thing, people.
Right.
If you're gonna get it, you're gonna get it.
Exactly.
No, you can't do it all, but like,
Right.
there's.
Do as much as
couple of
we
things.
reasonably can, and again, the CEC sets those guidelines to go by, and then we gotta use a little practicality. It's just like I said, you're not giving everybody a new pen. I'd have a concern knowing that I'm a microbiologist, that you're not killing everything when you're cleaning that pen, because you're not hitting 100% of the surface. I mean, that's a risk you take
I
if you
think
wanna do it,
we
you stick
can
that pen in
go
your
a
mouth.
little
So I'm
overboard.
gonna take it up here and just read some of the comments. Somebody commented that research is indicating that surface contact transmission is a less likely form of transmission, which is very true. Hand hygiene is much more important, and that batting gloves should be mandatory. Someone else commented that taking the temperature is not necessary. Simple hand washing before and after a game and practice is most appropriate. And then Tim, you had a question, and then Catherine also had something to
I just
say.
had a comment. My comment would be, the temperature taking will discourage people that are running a fever from going. That the parent, if a reasonable parent's gonna say, wow, I didn't know my kid had a temperature of 100.1 or whatever. So I would be for taking the temperature as long as it can be done. I do agree that as much as you possibly can, try to get the helmet situation straightened out. The rest of it is a risk, but I think that I tend to agree with Amanda that kids have lost a lot, especially that age group. And I would be for this with those considerations moving forward myself.
If we're gonna talk about the temperature thing happening, I think that it's important that we make sure it's an adult taking the temperature.
Oh, sure.
Because, I mean, we have a swimming pool that employs teenage lifeguards. We have programs that employ teenagers as coaches for these younger kids. And teenagers should not be the ones who are tasked with saying, your kid can't participate.
There should
I
be
agree.
an adult supervision position, and there should be like a check-in form where everybody coming in, they check in, that they're there like an attendance form, and that the temperature's being checked.
We cannot document the
You can't
temperature.
document
No, right,
No,
no,
just
all
that
those
it's
divisions.
checked
Yeah.
and it's been done,
That's all we need to do.
that's all.
Now,
Just that
that's a
it's been
certain point,
done
you
by
can participate, you don't have to put the name on it.
And then you don't make a
Say,
big
skip
deal.
the
Catherine?
temperatures.
Catherine,
Most parents
Okay,
don't
I
want to
think
do
we're on our
practice.
way here, so any approval should be done so that our EMA director, Bernard Williams, and our health officer, Don Shute, sign off on them. But yes, the
Donnie, do you
rest of,
think that we need to take temperatures?
Yes.
I want your honest opinion.
At this point, that's one of the CDC things. It's just the same way. I think it's a way for us to protect, especially exposure to our employees. I think that's why I want it. It's not necessarily.
Just because
I don't
a
want
kid
to
has
pick
a
out a kid
fever
and say that
doesn't
they
mean
can't
that
play.
they're.
But if I got somebody that's coming into the pool and I work there and I choose not to be there, it's just saying, I get looked at it every once in a while. I've had allergies, I sneeze a cough. The other day I had 13 people at the transfer station look at me like they were gonna kill me.
Right.
I'm like, really? I've got allergies. I'm not contagious or anything. Listen, I've probably got the best immune system of everybody. I've worked up there for 27 years. There ain't nothing I'm gonna get. So, if I did, I'd got it now. And it's just, I think it's one of those things for our exposure to our employees. A lot of people are doing this not to disqualify people from playing or doing that stuff, but we really don't care about that. It's to protect our employees.
It's the risk, it's mitigating the risk, and
Mitigate
that's
the
one
risk.
way that you can mitigate the risk
And
by
I mean,
having it.
Painless and.
Hey, listen, maybe 2 or 3 weeks from now, maybe they're gonna lessen the guidelines, but I don't know if anybody had watched Sunday with the governor, but they said that the stay-at-home order was indefinite, it wasn't June 1st anymore, she reneged on restaurants opening up June 1st. Tomorrow they can say this thing's all done and everybody go back to normal. You know, I don't know.
No,
I don't
think-
have a magic wand, but
I
I
think
think
that,
to reduce our liability to our employees, I think a simple 3-second temperature isn't gonna hurt anybody.
I think one thing that we need to acknowledge with all of these conversations about these programs that we're having tonight is that our situation here in Somerset County is a little bit different than other places in the state. And that the state level decisions that are being made looks at the whole state and looks at all of the numbers. And Kyle had numbers for Somerset County, which, you know, it doesn't look that bad, you know, but we're also going into a period of time where there are people coming from out of state. They're coming up to their open
We're
air camps.
vacationing.
They're coming up for vacation. They are not following the 14-day quarantine. So we have to acknowledge that although our situation right now is very minimal as far as the risk to our children and the risk to the employees, that can change very, very quickly. And so we need to be able to make a decision tonight that we need to be flexible in that in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, when you look at all the mass groups of people that are gathering for protests right now, there could be a huge explosion in cases. And so the possibility is there, so that we need to be flexible in our decision making here, that if we give an approval tonight, there might be a decision we have to make later on when the numbers change, that we have to go back and say, this is not a good idea anymore and we need to stop the programs. So I think we need to acknowledge the reality that this is something that's changing all the time, and there's a lot of factors out there that we in our community don't have any control over. And those things are going to be influencing the decisions we're going to be making through the rest of the year. So just with that in mind, Catherine. Oh,
Yeah, we've got a gentleman that would like to speak.
Kyle, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, for those who don't know me, and I'll just introduce myself briefly, I'm Kyle Gilson. I'm a certified athletic trainer, and currently I work for Northern Light. And so when I mention these things, I just note that I'm not representing my employer. But currently in my roles, I am part of the COVID triage team, management team for Northern Light. And also I am part of Work Health and am working with employers on returning their employees back to work after COVID exposures, or how to prevent COVID spread in the workplace, and things of those nature. And then additionally, I have extensive experience in planning venue safety for sports at the high school collegiate levels. So tying all of those things in, I know that we're very concerned about this spreading, but in general, our outdoor activities are the safest activities that we have to offer. There's not much safer than being outside. There's good research indicating that between 95 and 98% of all transmissions occur indoors. And not only that, but the majority of those are in small spaces as opposed to open spaces. And the reason that the difference is because in order to get the virus, in order to become infected, you have to apprehend a certain viral load in which it allows you to become sick. And the dilution ratio when you're outdoors or when you're in a large space, particularly when we limit the amount of people, is low enough that infection is very, very unlikely. Which is why you can feel comfortable standing outside with your neighbor, having a conversation at approximately 6 feet apart, but even that might be largely unnecessary in an outdoor space. So if we could do things on a practical level to space people out, if we can do things to space people out in terms of spectators, players, make some minor adaptations, then this is going to be a very, very safe thing to do, whether we're talking about Little League or we're talking about the pool. Both of these are very possible. I've heard some great ideas of things, and people are thinking, and they're cognizant of the fact that we need to be cautious. We do know that there's a certain amount of personal risk that comes with participating in anything or really doing anything, and I think the public at this point has been educated well enough to know what those are and to make those judgments. Even when we look at information regarding whether or not they need to wear a mask, that information, masking people is really only effective if we put the masks on the sick people. It really, you wearing a mask and me not wearing a mask, you don't really wind up protected. And then, those are the recommendations from the CDC, but you look at the new recommendations from the World Health Organization, and they're really saying that unless you have a symptomatic COVID patient, you don't really need to be wearing a mask at all. So we're seeing an emergence of all of this research. Some of it's conflicting, which can be a little bit confusing, but by and large, mask, don't mask, doesn't matter. Nobody really knows, but the thing is we're not seeing a large amount of transmission, particularly in this part of the state. When we look at the state as a whole, we have 0.16% of the population with this infection. And now, of course, those are the ones that have been clinically reported, and we probably have more, right? We know that there are people who are asymptomatic wandering about, but that's more of an indication about how this is actually going to affect the public. Most people aren't going to have a severe disease. And when we look at that 0.16%, a disproportionate number of those are coming from places that are group living homes, places where we have nursing homes, group living facilities for individuals who have disabilities, things of that nature. So when we start to talk about having these outdoor things, if there's anything really to do and for us to try as a community to sustain some semblance of normalcy, it's going to be these types of activities. If this were basketball season, you'd probably hear me saying something a little bit different. I'd probably be saying that, maybe we're not quite ready for indoor basketball. However, we're talking about baseball, which I think, per athletic game, has the most square feet of field per player. And then, even when we look at the moments in between, the players standing on the base, players taking leads, you actually have social distancing built into the sport, right? Your shortstop and your third baseman, your second baseman, everyone is at least 6 feet away. You could change rules about, who can take a lead if you can't take a lead, and if that will help with spacing. Even that would be largely unnecessary. But, again, being outside, the likelihood that you're going to acquire, a viral load significant enough in which will cause you to become infected is really, really low. And so when we start to look at these kids, and I was talking with a coworker today, and their children are referencing, well, before COVID, well, after COVID, right? So, and we've been talking about it, their worlds have been absolutely rocked, right? They've been absolutely rocked. Kids didn't get to graduate, kids didn't get to play their sports at the end of the fall. And so we start to make considerations about their well-being there. And then the other thing is just having them exposed to non-COVID germs is still going to be important for their overall health and well-being. So, in terms of taking temperatures, that's probably largely unnecessary. If you're taking one of dozens of symptoms and you're eradicating it, and it's nice. It's nice to feel like you're trying to do something, but we don't know if the thermometers are going to be accurate in an outdoor environment where it's you're measuring someone's temperature and it might be 97 degrees that day, and the kid might have been running around, or maybe you take their temperature, but they just got out of the vehicle with like ice cold air conditioning. Like there are so many different things in this moment that can affect your body temperature, and then we don't know if the people are going to be holding, it has to be a thermal scan, if they're going to be holding it at the right distance. So I think it's one of those things that makes us feel good, but unless we're doing it in a controlled setting with clinically trained personnel, I mean, we can get an itch, but it's not something that's necessarily very practical. Having parents just screen their children before they come, I think is a very good idea. Putting up a lot of education signs, making sure that the staff is informing people and reminding them of things like social distancing. I think that's really where you head. But a bit of a ramble here, but in the scheme of things, if we want to find something for these children and people in our community to do, these are two outstanding activities with drastically low risk potential. So I think as long as we thoughtfully come up with a plan about how we're going to make these services available to our community members, that we can do it. And then, it was mentioned that, of course, the situation is fluid. This entire situation is fluid. Mm-hmm. So maybe we try something, it works, and that's great. It doesn't, we have to reel it back. And by that time, maybe we have tried to come up with a different plan and try something else, or maybe we don't. So whether it's, removing the picnic tables from the pool, drawing chalk circles that are 6 feet apart, everyone bring your own chair, the likelihood of transmission passing in and out the entrance is going to be the same likelihood of when you go in and out of buds. There's really not a large difference. There's nothing necessarily that the CDC hasn't found that the virus can be transmitted through water, right? There are no recorded cases where the virus has been there. Now, we also know, we don't have confirmed, information about COVID-19, but when it comes to other versions of the coronavirus, we do know that they will not survive in chlorinated water. Do we expect this one to act the same? Yes. Do we have the research to prove it yet? No. But, all things indicate that if there were two things that we were going to make available, it'd be these. So, with that, I'll digress.
Thank you, Kyle. Counselors, any more discussion about baseball?
No.
All right. Do you want to move? On?
To the
Yes.
pool?
Yes.
Pool?
Yeah.
To the swimming pool next.
To the swimming pool. That would be you, Devin.
Let's unmute him. Hopefully that's working.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for your patience here.
Catherine, do you have the ability to turn that up on here?
I've done everything that I can.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to, I've moved things around. I'm not sure how to have it be any higher. We'll all talk, speak higher. All right, thank you.
Would you like me to speak, Catherine?
Yes, very good. We can hear you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Gilson, for that. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Devin Barney. I am the pool manager, head lifeguard, and certified pool operator for the Polly Bertrand Municipal Pool. This summer will be my 5th year working at the pool, and I put together a detailed plan for safely reopening the pool this summer. I believe that you all have it in your packet. So for those of you that haven't seen the packet, I can just go over some of the broad details of kind of what I explained in my plan. So what I visualize in terms of everyday operation of the pool this summer,
Speak up.
if voted to reopen.
Devin, can you get any closer to your speaker there? We're having a hard time hearing you.
It might look a little funny, but
that's okay.
Okay,
we just need to hear you.
It started out really loud.
Can you hear me better now?
A little bit.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'll also try to talk quite loudly. So, what I envision for a day-to-day operation at the pool is having lessons in the morning, and those lessons will include levels 3, 4, 5, and 6. They will not include flippers or level 1. And level 2, I need to do more research on in looking at the curriculum and whether or not I believe that that level can be done maintaining social distancing. So a reason that I have proposed to not have flippers at level 1 is just because of the very close contact that our instructors have with all of the students. So in flippers, we typically have between 8 and 10 in a lesson block, which is 30 minutes. And we have a section of the pool that's designated for those flippers students, and that is probably a 15 by 25 foot section. And the instructor that works with them works with all 8 to 10 of them, times however many flipper sections that we have. And a lot of it is very hands-on and very in close quarters. So mentioning what Mr. Gilson kind of touched on, it being outside, I would actually be very open to talking to him about whether or not he thinks that those lessons can be done safely. But in looking at the curriculum while putting together my proposal, without the information that Mr. Gilson had just provided, I thought that it was unlikely to be able to do it safely. But as I said, I would love to talk to him about that. Levels 3, 4, 5, and 6 can definitely be done while maintaining a good degree of social distancing with the recommended 6 feet. And I teach those every summer, and so I know what the curriculum looks like very well. And a lot of it can be done without me physically with my hands on the students, and more demonstrating and with visuals. And then in the afternoon sessions, we would have open swim, and the patrons would come in the front entrance, they would sign in their name, they would hand sanitize, and then they would go into the pool area. Now, when exiting, there's an entrance/exit in the pool fence, so they would exit that way. So we would have patrons entering through the pool house and then exiting through the fence. So that is trying to minimize face-to-face contact in the enclosed pool house. In terms of the number of patrons allowed in the pool at a time, that would be designated by the governor's directive in terms of the amount of people allowed at a gathering at one time. So I believe that is 50.
Right now.
And so maintaining social distancing on the pool deck is pretty easy for me to get a grasp on. I think that it would be easy to, like Mr. Gilson said, do chalk circles or something of the equivalent, duct tape squares, whatever you may want to do. But I also think that even without those, as long as we as lifeguards are educating patrons as they walk in, and then also as they're in the pool deck area to maintain a safe distance, I think that is easily done. And when in the pool, social distancing cannot be enforced as easily as it can be on land. But here are some of my thoughts. So some of the children's favorite things to do in the pool every summer are play Marco Polo and sharks and minnows. And in my proposal, I proposed to have the lifeguards enforce a no sharks and minnows Marco Polo rule for the summer, just because that is the highest source of contact in the pool every summer. And there's tagging, and there's a lot of people in one area. So I think that is a really probably is going to take away 3/4 of contact in the pool just by eliminating those 2 games for the children. And they may be upset, but when it's 90 degrees outside in July, they're going to think that the pool is open at all. And so the other contact that would come in the pool would be groups of patrons in a circle discussing, and lifeguards would just need to enforce a safe social distancing rule for that. And then, every once in a while you'll get two people that will be swimming and they come within a foot or so of each other. That can't really be completely eradicated. What can be eradicated is the purposeful gathering, close gathering between patrons. So I am hoping that you all have some questions for me that I can help answer and kind of subside any issues or hesitations about opening the pool this summer.
Devin, I just want to congratulate you on this plan. It is so very well written. I spent a lot of time reading it, so thank you for all of your research. You can clearly tell that you were very thoughtful in writing this plan, and I don't have any questions about it.
Neither do I.
I have a question. Devin, how many lifeguards are usually on duty at a time?
So it depends on the shift. Typically during lessons, we have 4 lifeguards in there's typically 1 lifeguard in the pool house at all times. We kind of rotate depending on lesson schedule. I also make the lesson schedule. So I plan it so that there's 1 lifeguard in the pool house at all times to handle any patrons that may come in with questions. We have a lot of people come in during lesson time that think that it's open swim. There's always 1 lifeguard in the pool house, and then there are 3 typically on the deck teaching lessons. During the 2 to 5 shift, it's kind of fluid. It depends on the weather of the week. So I also have the schedule. I also plan the schedules weekly for the staff, and depending on the weather, if it's going to be 95 degrees on a Wednesday, I'll have 4 lifeguards at the pool with a 5th one on call. If it's going to be 55 degrees and rainy, then I'll have 3 lifeguards at the pool, and if we don't have a lot of patrons, I'll send 1 home to help try and save some money. So it depends on, and then from 6 to 8, typically there's always 1 less lifeguard than there is for 2 to 5, because 6 to 8 is a less busy shift for us.
And is there a cap on the number of people that are allowed in the pool, like in a regular world? Is there a cap on the number of people that are allowed in the pool area at one time?
So in a regular world, lifeguards are capped to 25 patrons per lifeguard. So that ends up how I decide how many lifeguards I have on duty. So if we have 74 patrons swimming in the pool, we're legally fine with 3 lifeguards because each lifeguard can handle 25 of these. If we're at 76 lifeguards and they're swimming and nobody's getting out, then I'll have a 4th lifeguard come in so that our maximum capacity is at 100. The pool itself, I am unclear as to whether the pool itself has a maximum capacity. No one's ever told me that it does. But like I said, I think the highest number of patrons we've had while I've been there is 80. And like I said, we have 4 lifeguards.
I don't think you could fit 80 people in the pool. Do you?
Oh, I wasn't in a pool with 80 people. I had another question. Well, it just left me. And as far as the having, one of the things in here was sanitizing the bathrooms and the high-touch areas. That would be the responsibility of the lifeguard that's in the pool house at the time?
So,
Or how would that be done?
so that would be depending on how frequently, I was thinking personally, for sanitizing inside the pool house, so sanitizing, the faucets and stuff like that, the handles for doors and such. I thought that sanitizing once an hour, would be a good starting point. And then for the outside touch surfaces, for the ladders in the pool, as well as for lessons, the rings and the kickboards, the lifeguard instructor that had that lesson would disinfect those surfaces before the next lesson. So that would be every 30 minutes.
Right. In reality, if they're submerged in the chlorine water, then it's really kind of minimal that's going to be on there anyway.
Right. It would just be to, be very conservative in covering all of the bases.
So the other question I had was if the most people that you can remember being there is about 80, I did speak with Debbie, and I can't remember her last name, but she's involved. She's part of the Bangor Recreation Program. I talked to her about their program for their pools, and they're operating their pools at 30% of capacity this year, just so that they can have the spacing between people. And so if that were the case, then that would put us down to less than 25 people.
So 80 people is the most people that I've remembered being in the pool. That's not necessarily maximum capacity for the pool. Even with the 80 people in the pool, there was still more room for people to swim.
And do you have an idea of what the maximum capacity would be if social distancing were employed, like either within the pool, the number, like the square footage of the actual pool, or the number of people that could be on the apron of the pool within those restrictions?
So I actually have not gone and measured the pool depth or the square footage of the pool. That was something that I was going to do if we were approved to open for the year, and that would be something that I would be willing to report back to you all once I had that information. Like I said, it would just be measuring the pool depth, trying to figure out the square footage, and then how to block it off.
Use those.
Not block it off, like in my mind, block it off to see how many 6 by 6 foot sections we would have.
Yeah. So you would just use that as a guide as to how many people you'd be allowing in the pool area.
Right.
Okay. One of the other concerns that I had was that because we would need to reduce the number of people that were coming into the pool area in order to follow social distancing, would be that we could have a situation where we reached capacity because of social distancing, and we have families from Pittsfield on the outside of the fence wanting to come in, but we have residents from other towns that are in the pool, and our townspeople that are actually paying for the pool wouldn't actually be able to come into the pool, or might not be able to participate. And so that was one concern that I had, and I guess that would be a greater discussion within the council as to whether we would want to limit pool participation to Pittsfield residents only as a way of limiting the number of people coming in, that it would just be for Pittsfield residents.
Right, so I had 2 thoughts on that point. My first was to limit the pool to Pittsfield residents, for the tax-paying residents, and another option that I had thought about is a time limit. So there are a couple of ways that I've seen pools do time limits. Some pools do time limits every single hour. So it kind of stinks for the people that show up 5 minutes before the end of the hour, but at the end of the hour, on every hour, the pool gets emptied, and then all of the people waiting get let in, and then if there is still room, people that just got out of the pool come in. And then other pools I've seen do kind of group time limits. So that's more, you're more responsible for yourself in that essence. So if you come into the pool at 2:30, you know that at 3:30 it's time for you to leave so that the next person can come in. something that I would be very happy to talk about with all of you in terms of how we can implement that in the best strategy possible.
There's a couple comments on here too. One person had asked why we were focusing on just children and whether we were taking temperatures of other people entering the town office, the fire department, transportation, etc. And I think the conversation is just focusing on children because we're talking about children's rec programming. I don't know if we have those policies in effect, Johnny or Catherine, for the town office. I'm sure employees are certainly counseled not to come to work if they're sick.
Correct. Yes.
As far as patrons coming into the office or the transfer station or something, then
Social distancing. PPE,
social distancing
and
is our
PPE,
best.
that's required, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that's where that would be. Kyle also had a few more comments about passing people in an outdoor setting is not as a high risk. Kudos from everyone else to Devin for the nice work. Could parents serve as a physical guide to the young group to promote instructor maintaining social distancing, which is actually one of the things that Debbie said they're doing in their pool, rather than having the instructor be hands-on with the small children and requiring a parent to come and stay and participate in the classes with the younger children. And so the parent would actually do the guiding and doing the lesson with just the instructor instructing the parent on what to do with the child. So that would be a suggestion as well. And Kyle also commented that he'd be happy to work with you and analyzing, preparing the pool to mitigate the risk and a group time limit. Counselors, did you have other concerns?
I think the idea for the younger kids is good. That's what the YMCA does.
Yeah.
When I took Jeremy there for his lessons, I had to be in the pool with him.
Yeah.
So could we hear from Donnie?
I was just gonna
Yeah,
say
I gotta leave, so.
Yeah.
Really quick, I made a recommendation, I can't remember if I did it by email to Catherine or to Devin, but 996 square feet for the pool, 1,594 plus or minus for the apron. Made a recommendation, 25 to 30 people at a time. And again, with 3 lifeguards, that's gonna be tough to manage in the pool to make sure that social distancing. And my other recommendation was, if you're gonna do that, then split up the times. You know, from 1 to 2:30 is one free swim. Then people that come in and had that first free swim and open up for the second free swim from the 2:30 to 4:30, whatever it may be, whatever you want to split up the times. So you have less exposure. You can still get the numbers of people that he wants to get into the pool, but you're just splitting up times and exposure times. It gives them a little time in between to be able to sanitize if they need to sanitize. Again, the stuff in the pool I'm not worried about. You got the chlorine and the contact with it. I'm more worried about the kids, the 2 or 3 kids running in and using the bathroom. Again, that's one of those things that happens in schools, it happens everywhere. That's a lot of stuff that was should have been taught by parents at home, is to make sure that you're washing your hands, and if you make messes on the floor, you should be cleaning it up, and lift up the seat, don't pee on the seat, sort of thing. So that's probably the biggest thing, the person, whoever's in the pool or whatever, sanitizing, and making sure on an interval. Again, you can't do it for every kid, but they're coming in and out of the pool. Just one of those things that I'll throw out there, and Devin can probably attest to this, is one of the things that we worry about is if a kid does a number 2 in the pool. Automatically shut the pool down, because there's a thing out there called Cryptosporidium, that's a little parasite that can live in chlorine. Chlorine doesn't kill it, and if you adjust the water, you can get everybody else in that pool sick. It's a legal liability for us to make sure we shut it down for 24 hours. We have to do certain procedures for it. This COVID, again, is probably not the scariest thing, but if you minimize exposure, the number of people at any given time, 25, 30, I feel comfortable with 30, and then just based on the square footage and split up the times. I mean, as far as the swimming lessons, again, I think that's more of a one-on-one contact thing, and I think probably something that they could do, but again, it's just to minimize the amount of exposure that we're expecting the lifeguards go through and the kids themselves. So. Sounds like he's got a very good plan. I've read it. He's right on top of it. I just think that his aspirations of having 50 people in the pool at any given time is probably not good, because it's gonna be tough to keep track.
Deborah, did you have anything new to add?
Well, I think I like the idea of restricting the use of the pool to Pittsfield residents only under these circumstances. One, for the reason that you said about people waiting to get in that are taxpayers, and there are other people from other towns. But I think that beyond that, we minimize the risk of something being carried from one place to another. If we're just dealing with our Pittsfield residents, I think it makes it easier for both of the programs.
Well, the baseball program was gonna be Pittsfield, Detroit, and Burnham.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
In order to get the numbers of
School
kids,
district.
they had to get the numbers of kids and for the age groups.
And again,
But
you're
that's
talking
not
about
the
30, you're
same.
talking about 30 kids too.
If
You
they
have
can
30
field
at a
it,
time.
yeah, if they can field it.
But
Any other concerns or questions about the,
My only
Cool.
thing would be the temperature checks again, along with the other ones.
so if it's a policy at one rec program, it would be a
It
policy
should
for
be.
all the rec
And it's
programs.
not so much, it's more of a defense.
It's a deterrent.
It's an added defense to parents sending their kids, or kids coming to sick. It's not so much as a catch-all, it's more of a painless defensive
Right.
way to go about it.
Devin, you had.
Is a comment.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. The first one is, if we do decide to limit the use of the pool just to Pittsfield residents, I think that there would need to be a discussion amongst the counselors to figure out how the pool staff would determine whether or not that they were Pittsfield residents. Is it just going to be trusting that they're Pittsfield residents, or is it going to be a piece of mail?
They could always
or-
just pick up.
I'm not sure how.
They
to
can
do
show their
this.
dump sticker.
Well, we could,
Well, that
you know, we could
My
do
second
that.
question, I have tried to do some research on Scholastic Google, and I haven't found any studies published, but I'm concerned, and like I said, I'll do whatever to open the pool, but I'm concerned, as Mr. Gilson mentioned, about kids running around and doing whatever, playing hide and seek outside in 98 degrees, and they come into the pool and their body temperature is so much higher just because of the outdoor temperature and their strenuous exercise not passing a temperature check.
I know that at work, some of our work at Chimbro and some of our sites have required the temperature thing, and it varies a lot more widely than I knew. Like,
Yes.
Yeah, it's
And
not,
that's
hard to
it's
administer. That was my
not
hesitation.
accurate.
My kids wake up sick, and I try to take the temperature, and I get the reading, I'm like, oh my God, that's not right. I'm not doing it right. Like, I just don't know if I'm qualified to run the thing, or even if it works,
Well, that's why
because it
that,
really varies.
that 100.3 is if your body temperatures, and this is why they went with 100.3. If you're out running around and your body temperature goes up above 100.3, then you're in heat stroke. You're gonna be a medical emergency anyway. You shouldn't, your body temperature shouldn't vary, like almost 2 degrees higher than what your normal body temperature is. If it is, you're having a thermal emergency, and we really need to call somebody out. I know that, I'm an EMT basic. That's one of the things that we look for heat stroke. It's one of those things that body temperature tells you a lot. It doesn't vary very much. When you hit 107 degrees, you're dead. There's nothing else clinically and medically I can do for you versus, again, some run a little low, some will run a little bit higher, but if you're getting above that 100.3 or 100.4, 100.5, you definitely got something going on. Either you're sick or you got a medical emergency.
Clinically, heat stroke doesn't take place until we reach a body temperature of 104 degrees. So, it is common for athletes and typically speaking, for those at the high school level, to definitely achieve temperatures higher than 100 degrees during physical activity, and that can also be largely dependent on their hydration status. So it's one of those things where once you do this in an outdoor environment, not only do you have the temperature of the outdoor environment that you're dealing with, there's the activity level of the person before you take their temperature, and then beyond that, largely the staff implementing these things aren't going to be trained. So when you start to add up all the various components of error that really could contribute, it creates a situation where we're doing something for the sake of doing something. It's not really going to be an effective means of mitigating risk. At best, it will serve as a conscious reminder in form of prevention through, through action, if you will. But you're not going to stop anything in regards to COVID taking temperatures, and let's not forget the fact that we're talking about outdoor activities, right? We're talking about outdoor activities with moving airflow and maintaining social distancing. So the likelihood that even if you were to be in a venue with a person who had COVID symptoms or was a COVID carrier, again, achieving that viral load is incredibly unlikely. And in terms of asymptomatic carriers, now nothing definitive, but a recent study out of South Korea, they took an asymptomatic COVID carrier, they exposed 425 individuals to that asymptomatic carrier, and none of them got COVID. And those were in indoor settings. So, we're looking at a situation where we have the state of Maine has 0.16% of the population with a clinically recorded case for activities that are taking place outdoors. I know it seems nice, and to an extent we want to do things because it feels good to do things, because we all have a sense that we want to help prevent and mitigate this risk, but it's also important not to do things just for the sake of doing it.
Okay, Kyle. So, counselors.
Now we have to talk about the other programs.
Now we have to talk about the other program.
What other programs?
Devin.
Yes, Devin
Go ahead,
has a final comment.
Regarding the idea of just opening the pool to Pittsfield residents, if that is something that is voted ahead on, I would like to possibly have a stipulation in there that we can reassess after a week or two, because if the pool is only getting 10 or 15 patrons from Pittsfield every open swim shift, then I think that it would be possible to open that up to Detroit and Burnham residents as well. The only reason that I mention this is because we do get quite a few, a core group of children from Detroit and Burnham that really look forward to coming to the pool every summer. So I understand if the council wants to start with just having Pittsfield residents, but I would like to potentially reassess after a week or two to talk about numbers if that is the case.
I can understand that, Devin, but like you said earlier, the use of the pool is very weather dependent, so it'd be hard to put like a 2-week time frame on it. If the weather isn't super favorable for pool use, then that would really throw things off. But I think that, with all of these decisions that we're making, I think we're going to have to be flexible, even with that. Catherine?
So I would say on all of the plans for the programs that we have an EMA director, Bernard Williams, and a health officer, Don Shute, who are very experienced in these type of items. And so we would leave it up to them to monitor this a bit along with other staff.
Absolutely.
And especially the volunteers and the recreation staff to see if we need to make changes and make those changes. Okay. And again, both Bernard and Donnie have the ability under the law to shut down operations, and to make changes. And so they would work with the staff and the volunteers to adjust things as necessary during the summer.
Oh.
And,
Okay,
so
so,
just one more really quick thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to touch really quickly, about the pool, not specifically about the pool this summer. The pool fee that was rescinded at the end of last summer was used to purchase an AED for the pool. So I just wanted to, let all of the counselors know that the fee that we collected all summer,
What is he
last summer
saying?
was
The
not,
pool fee.
collected in vain. It was used to buy an AED for the pool, which I don't believe we've ever had. So we're all very excited for that.
okay.
I don't think we rescinded it.
It's the
We
fees
were
that people
going.
wanted rescinded, which we
Yeah,
didn't.
we never did.
Yeah, so they utilized some of the money in the budget for the AED.
Right.
We didn't do it, but people had wanted it done.
So it is still in place for this year?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's still in place, and that's a great use of the funds, Devin.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody commented, Connie commented that when people sign the agreement for pool use, they could be issued a small laminated card to show when they come in for free swim.
There you go.
They could be given a box of card lamination sleeves, and you could borrow a pocket laminator for the season. But I think we could easily have a pool pass
Yeah.
that the town office could issue for Pittsfield residents too. You have a library card, you keep it in your wallet, you know, you have a pool pass to take and show at the pool.
I like that.
So, and the only question is, if we did decide to do Pittsfield only residents for swimming, would that be extended also to lessons, or would we open up lessons? I think if we're gonna limit one, we'd have to limit the other, otherwise it's not gonna do much good.
And my feeling is that the pool is in Pittsfield, Pittsfield taxes pay for it, and under these extraordinary circumstances, we should only let Pittsfield residents utilize the pool until we know what's gonna happen with the whole COVID-19 issue.
Okay.
I think
Well, I think with our,
the recommendations talk about your environment, like we all live in the same town, but then like with the Little League, they don't recommend playing leagues from other towns.
Yep.
I think the pool is the same thing, at least for this year, to see what's gonna happen with COVID.
Mhm.
And I feel very strongly about that.
I think with our other recs, we allow Pittsfield, Beechwood, and Burnham, so I would
It's
think
the school
that
district.
it would be the same for the pool.
I think-
Otherwise, you're singling out just one area of our rec department.
But the kids playing Little League are paying a fee, correct?
Well, so are the people going to the pool.
Everybody has.
Everybody's paying.
Especially swim lessons. Swim lessons, you pay an additional fee.
And out of
Well,
town, people
I-
pay an additional.
Yeah,
I
more.
agree with Heather when she commented about someone not from Pittsfield being in the pool and someone from Pittsfield whose taxes pay for the pool, standing there waiting to get in.
Well, my concern was just not knowing what the limitations of numbers of people are gonna be, and that could be a possible scenario. But at the same time, I don't think it makes sense to limit pool use if we're not limiting our rec programs in the Little League, or we're not limiting our rec programs for the other things that we offer. It needs to be, whatever it is, it needs to be across the board, because it doesn't do any good to limit the number of people from other towns coming to the pool if they're all gonna go to baseball games together. So it needs to be, whatever it is, it needs to be across the board, whatever we decide that would be.
I think it's reasonable to keep it in the school district.
And if you do that free swim, like I said, if you have free swim for 3 or 4 hours, minimize the exposure, have it for 4 hours, 2 hours and 30, 2 hours and 30, you're getting 60 people that would normally.
If you find there's too many people that are coming.
Right, exactly.
Easily.
Right, that's easily adaptable.
Yeah.
Again,
And I
based on
think-
numbers, I think Devin, with his ability to do the research, he can track that stuff and let us know what's going on.
Yeah.
I think any plan that is put in place, you know, we're gonna have to give Devin some leeway there as far as, you know, how many people at any given time is gonna be in there, and
He's the one
as
that's
far as,
there.
right, he's the one that's gonna be deciding that, so,
Yeah.
there needs to be some flexibility in there also. Can we move on to the other rec programming Susie had, some information.
Yeah, we asked Susie for
somewhere.
information on the different programs that she had suggested, and so she came up with, an action plan that was in the additional information that you received and have before yourselves this evening. And, she has indicated that they will follow the governor's orders, guidance, and the CDC
I didn't
requirements.
get anything.
It was additional
Just the extra packet
information.
that was on the table
Okay,
with the quotes.
okay.
So we've got a variety of items here, but we're talking more about lessons and learning rather than scrimmages. And so we've got field hockey, lacrosse, which is a new one, cheering, golf lessons, which golfing is one of the items that the governor's program and economic development has promoted. So that is a program at GW Parks, and so we collect the funds and then pay the golf course. Soccer is listed and tennis is listed. And so she's got a list of the items for the sanitizing, social distance, no physical contact, etc. I'm not sure how we do all of this with the practicing, but they're talking more about teaching on these items and no scrimmaging.
Yeah, it seems to me it's more like workshops, which makes perfect sense. They're not doing any kind of physical contact, they're keeping their 6 feet space, and
It's like a training.
yeah, we should let them do it so they can learn the skills.
Or like a skills
And they
training.
definitely do need skills.
It's like going to basketball camp or baseball camp or
Yes,
whatever.
exactly.
Yeah, they are
But they
like
wouldn't be.
Except they're not doing the
No
scrimmages that we
scrimmaging,
do.
No
just skills
scrimmaging.
and drills and,
Yep.
things
I'm
like
good with
that.
that.
And they're not sharing equipment,
No.
so, I mean, this is probably the least
I think
exposure
so too.
of all of these plans.
Yeah, it's the easiest one to do.
Mm.
And so Deborah had mentioned having some, arts type items too, because we're all centered on sports here. And so I did suggest that to Susie. About some art programs or,
Right,
Yeah.
well,
Well, the problem is isn't arts and crafts typically done inside?
yes, but there's a way, I mean, it would have to be limited and social distancing, but I think when we think about, every time the district has to cut money, it's cut from the two things that are proven to increase a child's intelligence, music and art. And so our summer program used to have an arts and crafts, but basically they didn't really have an art program. And I think that we should add one so that all of our kids can participate. There's a lot of kids that don't play sports, that don't have anything to do in the summer.
Well, if Susie can find instructors, and they can get kids to sign up.
It doesn't even have to be a formal, you
Well,
don't
she
have
has
to
to find
have an
somebody to run
instructor,
the
somebody
program.
to run it. And I had said to Catherine, if we could find somebody to run it, I would be willing to work with that person.
Catherine, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember the reason that dwindled is because participation dwindled.
it's because of the type of programming they offered. After a while, it became boring.
Yeah, I remember having that program when I was a kid, and I participated 1 year.
Well, I'm not talking about an arts and crafts class, I'm talking about art. So, and one of the things that I had mentioned to Catherine, I'm a collage artist, and I use a lot of recycled materials. So I have scads of things that we could use in the program
You
that
gonna sign
wouldn't
up to
cost
be an
anything.
instructor?
I could probably do that.
Talk to Susie.
Um,
There's some positive comments on here that people are agreeing that arts would be great. They love their kids, love the program that Lexi Caldwell did, and they're talking about the arts and crafts program.
so,
Yeah, I mean, I think if
I
kids are
will-
looking for an outlet and that's available and they can find the instructors for it, then I think it's a great idea.
So we'll talk to the rec director about at least one program that, is in the arts area, so that, for the children that are interested in the sports activities or want to enhance their skills in the arts area, we could have something.
So could you and Susie and I have a meeting, because I can
Yes.
take my plan that I had done previously and adjust it to meet guidelines.
Yep, certainly. Great, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Might be something that you could do to reach out to the high school students too, that are the advanced art students.
They could help.
They could help with, like, we have high school students who are teaching tennis and soccer and stuff.
Right.
So, counselors, any more discussion on
No.
what number we're
No.
on here? We are on the second resolution. Resolution 20-59.
9. That's where we are.
Acting as necessary in the Pittsfield Rec program. So, do we have a particular motion to make? Pete?
Well, for me to vote yes on this, there's some key points in that. So we touched on it'd be Pittsfield, Detroit, Burnham residents. For me, temperature checks are a must. They must have a way to be able to wash their hands, to be able to sanitize, and the Little League with the helmets. So if
So,
those things can be addressed in this order, resolution, then I can vote yes. If not, I know.
Yeah, and the three last items you mentioned are part of the guidance from the state of Maine and from the CDC.
I agree that if our EMA
I'm not EMA.
well, no, I know, if our EMA and health officers are saying they want temperature checks, even though I may not agree that that's a great way to be screening people, those are the people that we trust with the health of our area, and if they want it, then that needs to be added to the plan.
Again, I'm only saying that because 50% of the people presented with a low-grade fever. They had asymptomatic, they had all kinds of different things that were going out there. It's either that for protection of our employees, we have to have I want a screening process.
It's not foolproof by any
It's not
means.
foolproof, I'm not
it's
saying
not,
it is.
but it's something.
But
It's
it's
another
something to do.
component.
And all I'm saying is if we can do that, it's somewhat of a screening process, because then if a kid comes in with a dry cough, we're gonna say to employees, I'm gonna go to them, you gotta look for these things and
Yeah.
ask these questions, and it comes in with a cough and the kid has allergies, now I'm eliminating him out because he's got a cough, you can't come in. Well, I don't wanna do
Exactly.
that either. But have some sort of tool, it's either that, or we can do what they did in Connecticut and say, you will have a test and you will prove to me that you're negative. And I think that is asinine. I don't think we need to go that far. I will
That
tell
wouldn't
you.
work here.
One of the things that I will tell you, and I'll be right up front about it, you can vote on it all you want, but one person gets infected in this program, I will use my statutory authority as a health officer, and all programs will end.
Well, we
I
should.
can guarantee.
Yeah.
But because we can't afford it. I don't think we have to go that far, ever. I think Devin's done a lot of work. Kyle, I think you've done a lot of work. I think it just gives a way for us to do something for screening. And I'm not gonna say that we're gonna catch it. We may not even catch it. Chances are we're not.
So if we
But again,
have-
out in the open air is the place that they need to be. And I do agree with that. They
Yes,
need
you
to-
would have to,
So,
all rec programs.
so the resolution would be, to act as necessary, part of acting as necessary, would be working with Donnie and Vernon to make sure
Yeah.
that those things are
They approve
followed
it.
through appropriately,
They
that those
approve the
concerns are
plan.
due
I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that they all have got good plans. They've all done their research. I think they've done a great job. And I
So
think
we
that all
have
these
to
programs
add-
could be successful because we've got good people that are gonna be there monitoring, that are gonna be running them. So I think you have to put some trust into them too.
I
And
think that,
I think if this is the yes or no thing, if this temperature check is what's
Yeah.
going to stop the program,
to.
I
Temperature check.
will just do the temperature check and let these kids do something this summer that isn't vandalizing our property.
Because if we do nothing, then
Catherine?
something's gonna be said we didn't do anything.
Catherine?
So the motion to act as necessary on the recreation programs would have safety plans in accordance with the governor's orders, protocols, and the CDC requirements approved by our EMA Director Bernard Williams and Health Officer Don Shute, which would include the temperatures, washing the hands, and a plan for the helmets.
That's.
So can we vote
Is
on
that
that?
what we're gonna vote on?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
suggested.
What you just said.
So
Well,
that,
that's
Pete, is that your motion?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's.
I second it.
Second.
I beat you to it.
You did beat me to it.
All right, counselors, a motion has been made to amend resolution 20-5, yes, 59. All those in favor of accepting the, resolution as amended, please say aye.
And it was,
Aye.
it was with Pittsfield.
Pittsfield, Burnham, and Detroit residents,
well.
yes.
I think that's what we're limited to for rec anyway.
That's the way it's set up, so I
Yeah.
didn't include that, we're
Okay.
not making it, we're not changing it
So
from
we're not
that.
changing that
Okay.
to Pittsfield.
Aye.
Okay, so amended, so the motion is amended, the resolution is amended, excuse me. All those in favor of voting for the amended resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
Yay. We have a summer rec program.
Transfer station.
At Pittsfield.
Yeah, it's a complicated area. Thank you all did a great job on.
Thank you. Thank you for all
Thank you
your
to
work.
everybody who did the
And
research.
I am hopeful, I have reservations, but I am hopeful for a very successful program this summer with lots of happy children, lots of happy parents, and lots of healthy people. So, we're gonna go on to the next resolution. But I would like to propose that we skip over 2060 and deal with our paving one, so that
Yeah.
Steve can go
Yes.
home.
I agree.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry that I didn't pick up on that earlier, I would have done that first.
So I move we
We don't need a motion.
we have to move to change the rules to change the order. So I move that we change the rules so that we can address 20-61 before 20-60.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Waiving the rules so you can go out of order.
Right.
Out of order
Yeah,
on your
waive the rules.
agenda.
All right, anyone opposed to waiving the rules so that we can address resolution 20-61 in advance of 20-60?
No.
All right, so we're gonna do that. And Catherine, is there a way that we can arrange our agenda? I know you usually do it in order of things that coming in, but can we arrange it so that if we have department heads here, that we deal with their items first?
Well, we've always dealt with the public's items when all the public is coming in first.
Okay.
So if we want to change that, then we need to agree to change that, and I'll put the staff first and the public last,
Okay.
which
I guess somebody's gonna end up waiting
I
one way or
agree.
another.
I'm not
so-
sure. we wanna
Actually,
do
I
that.
think that's, well, but I think that's a good idea, because the work we are doing is what the public is asking us to do. So if we talk first,
Well, can we talk
Well, no,
about that
I'm
later?
just talking
Yeah,
about,
yeah, okay.
it was just a general
Yeah.
question as far as how we
Okay.
arrange the schedule.
Yeah, let's,
Okay,
let's go on.
paving.
resolution 20-61, Catherine.
All right, resolve that the town council accept the proposal of blank from blank in an amount to not exceed blank in response to the request for proposals for the 2020 road paving program and authorize the town manager to execute the town standard services contract.
Move
We need a motion.
Move we adopt resolution 20-61 with the blanks to be filled in.
Second.
Madam Mayor, I just want to let you know that I am abstaining from this resolution.
Thank you.
Conflict of interest.
Really?
All right, counselors, do we want to go to the public? We only have 2 people left on the public. Does anybody in the public have anything to say about our paving proposals that were part of the packet? I'm not seeing any. Okay. Steve, the floor is yours.
Speak up.
We're gonna make you sit in the front of the classroom if we can't hear
You know, you're sitting right in the middle. You could take your mask off so we could hear you.
I did give him the Zoom so he could have done it this way too.
Well, we appreciate you hanging in there for the long haul, Steve. You had a recommendation?
I do have a recommendation, but I don't have my numbers in front of me.
That's
Yeah.
okay, we have your
That's
numbers.
Okay, so, Based on
Sorry.
following references, okay. Thank you. I have an unfavorable reference for Hopkins pavement, which is low bid.
Okay.
Hopkins,
Yeah, and that's out of Dover Foxcroft.
yeah.
Okay. They hired them to do their paving program last year, as they were low bid. They failed to finish their work. They always seem to show up with a less than adequate crew. They breeze in and get done what they needed to meet the requirements, and then breeze out, meet their other requirements, and
Okay.
breeze back in. And
So unfavorable, so your recommendation going forward would be to go to second bidder? Pike?
Yes.
Okay, and the difference there was negligible, it was less than $2,000 between the two
It's less than
bids
$2,000 difference. Yeah.
on a $300,000 project, which is pretty tiny
Correct.
percentage.
Yeah, and the paving formula out of Pike mixing plant is superior to the Sargent's mixing plant. That's my experience from last year. Yeah.
And I did speak with Matt earlier about this, and he was of the same mind that we should go with a larger company that has their own plant to control the quality of the product, as well as having adequate staff. He wasn't impressed with the smaller contractor and the work that we went with last time, so he was really looking to go with a larger contractor to make sure that the quality work was done. And I'm of the same mind of that as well. I think it's a really small difference in cost when you look at the entire project, and Pike Industry does, work for the state and large projects all around the state and elsewhere. So I think that it would be a good choice to go with that. Catherine?
So we were very fortunate to get so many bids, and the fact that Pike Industries is usually one of the more expensive bids that we'll get. This time their price was less expensive and more in the category of the smaller companies, so this was excellent.
Good. Tim?
I'm completely for putting Pike Industries in there with their price. They have an excellent reputation. They're right out of Fairfield. Like you said, they do work for the state, and they have their own product, and I think we'd be better served anyway. So I'm okay with that. I trust these recommendations.
Any?
Same here.
You're good with that, Pete?
Yeah.
Deborah?
With going with Pike?
Pike?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're gonna need another resolution with the Pike Industries and the numbers put into the
I don't
resolution.
understand why we have two sections, two blanks with dollar signs on them.
I don't think you're looking at the right spot.
I'm looking at 61.
So we would have the proposal of the company from the town in an amount not to exceed blank.
I can make a motion if
Sure,
you wish.
Tim. Yep.
Mayor Donahue, I'd like to make a motion that on resolution 2061, resolve the town accept the proposal of Pike Industries from Fairfield, Maine, in the amount not to exceed $380,280.50.
Is it 200, 580?
I'm sorry, what did I say? 580, that's an 8, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
$380,580.50.
Excellent. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right.
Again, I'll be abstaining from the vote.
Okay. So counselors, any other discussion about this?
Nope, trust Steve.
Okay. Let's vote on the amended resolution. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And abstaining? This is where you
Sorry,
say
yes, I'm abstaining. I was just thinking, thank God we have 4 people.
That's what I was thinking when you said you're abstaining. I'm counting in my head like, how many people? Okay, so thank you, Steve, for hanging in there.
No problem.
Hey, Steve, how you did though, I have a question for you. Because the sticking point on pavement for me is we have a road that we paved last year that didn't get sealed. And I just want to make sure that doesn't fall off the radar.
You have a road last year that didn't get surfaced.
Or didn't get surfaced, sorry, I keep messing that up.
No problem.
So I wanna make sure that gets
So I have,
resurfaced.
basically where I am right now is, I have a 2-year window for the recommendation, based on all the screaming and hollering for pavement, all the money's going towards a very poor road. So next year, we will have to revisit that. But the other part of that is based on what I'm seeing for the 1 year wear, okay, it's partially, I think, stability of base, okay, that's there, that we paved over existing. The other part of that is, I think the Sergeant's mix is where it came from, doesn't have enough asphalt content. So I'm thinking about having it cored and tested to see where we stand.
Okay.
Alright, so.
Do you mean the binding agent?
Oh, well, you call it binder, your first course, you call it binder.
Yeah.
It's not binding agent. So, you put down a 2-inch binder course, that's just your base course, and then you go over that with your surface, which is a finer material. And that gives you the mass, and it gives you your seal, because your binder course is a coarser material, so it's more porous, so it's more susceptible. And I watched, because when I replaced the cross culvert, that was put in with really good material, and it was put in properly, and that did not move. Okay. So this winter, with the winter we had with all the freeze off, water and everything else, I watched that road on each side of that culvert raise 10, 12 inches. It was a big dip. So now that tells me that the base of that road is susceptible to hold moisture. And that's how much it expands. It's not well drained, that's not a good stable base.
Yeah.
But we can't afford to go rip out miles and miles of road and rebuild all our bases.
No.
So you're gonna do some investigating on the quality of the mix that was put down and then let us know?
I'm gonna have probably hire Coles, SW Coles, to come in and test.
Okay.
And that will tell us if it was done right, if it had good content, whatnot. We'll see if we got to go back legally or something before we go spending a bunch more money on that road.
That's a good plan.
I'm just looking at the cracks, and part of that is, I know, due to stability of the base, but I wanna know that we got what we're supposed to have, yeah, as far as the asphalt content stuff. All right. So-
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, go home and go to sleep.
I'll go to sleep, I'm going home.
All right, are we gonna skip back to 20-60?
Yes.
Okay.
Resolution 20-60, resolved that the town council acts as necessary due to the civil emergency regarding the Pittsfield Community Theater.
Move we accept resolution 20-60.
Second.
Discussion from the audience. We have no in-person audience anymore. Anyone online have any comments or questions about the theater?
Was this in our packet somewhere? Because I totally missed this.
It's on the back of the sheet, the last sheet of the camp activities and the swimming pool plan, and then it goes into the CDC guidelines and stuff, and then it's on the back of the last sheet of that
Just before the paving one.
before the paving did.
So we don't have a lot of information in this area because there isn't guidance as of yet for theaters and items such as this to open.
But, may I? Did we have?
We don't have any comments out there. What is the plan for reopening? And I think that's what we're discussing.
We don't know.
So, Deborah.
We have discussed this numerous times, that if a plan did not come up present itself, that we would have no choice but to close the theater. We cannot afford, now with COVID-19 and all the extra things we have to do, and the extra money that we've spent that is now gonna leave us struggling for the rest of the year, is to have that theater open. As far as I'm concerned, we should close it and be done with it.
I think my concern with this thing here is that, I mean, we have no guidance from the state allowing us to open any theaters right now. And if they're talking about in this note that it's possible that they could open in September, I mean, how much money is gonna go into reopening it so that it can start up just for it to close again in December? Because we've already said we're not funding it next year. I mean,
that's
if they
what
have
I'm saying.
if
Let's
they have
just
a really
close it
good
and-
plan in place from the funder, who is it that they're partnering with? Is it Dover?
Dover Foxtrot.
If they have a really good plan in place from them, which we have not seen, then I would be happy to allow them to open once the state allows, knowing that they're going to be funded next year by another source.
It's not funding, they're just getting guidance on how to set up the
They're not-
501c3. They're not getting any funding through them.
And we cannot afford to have that theater open and lose more money. We have lost money year after year. It lost money when I was on the council the first time, 20 years ago.
So,
Still have the upkeep of the building though, so you.
Yeah, no matter
we have
what,
to-
we're gonna have that fee.
We have to either
There's
turn it over to
operations.
somebody
Have
or
what?
get out.
The
from
fee of the
underneath it.
upkeep of the building.
Well, yes, but it would not be 150,000. I mean, we close it down, we turn off the lights, we winterize it, and put a for sale sign on it. Be done with it.
oh, Tim?
You know, I said that if by the end of this year, that if they couldn't make a go of it, I would vote to keep it open. The only thing that rubs me a little bit, and it's just me, is right now, no theaters are open. Because you can't, the governor of the state of Maine has put in social distancing in the CDC. So therefore, we can't open it, okay? There isn't any theaters open. There's none open in Waterville, there's none open in Bangor, there's none open anywhere, okay? I know, I understand all these arguments and I get it. It just looks like, on the surface to people, that what are you rushing in to close this for? Why don't you wait until either we get near budget time and we can't make a go of it, or until the CDC and the governor lifts the guidelines, whichever comes first.
Well,
Or do we have to make a decision in, I mean, I understand that the logistics of it, we make a decision now, we don't have to make a decision come budget time, I get that. But you understand how this looks, right? You know what I mean?
The one comment on here is that as a taxpayer, I disagree with determining to close at this time. And whether that's because of the issue that you're saying right now, because no theaters are open because of the orders of the state, then, or not, then I don't know, but they might just want to, they went on to say a tremendous effort was being made to maintain the theater. So, and that's not gonna go away. I mean, we're still gonna have maintenance operations costs to maintain the theater. Even if we close down the building, we're still gonna have to shovel the roof. You know, there's still things that we're gonna have to do. Pete.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this with the intent that somebody needs to come forward with a plan, or otherwise we're gonna have no choice but to.
How many times are we going to give this group of people who are procrastinating the opportunity to present a plan?
Yeah, but they
I'm
haven't.
sick of it. They were supposed to do it by the end of last year.
Yeah, but
we
the
gave
problem
them.
is, we didn't meet at all last month.
I didn't
We
say
had-
last month, I
no,
said
no.
last year.
We
They were
didn't
supposed to
have-
give us a plan and they did not.
But they've now moved from that committee, and I agree, that committee
And they
was
have
not productive. But this new committee formed just before we had to do the shutdown. So I agree with Pete that it's a good idea to table this. We give them a month to come up with a plan for us for the first meeting in July, let's say, and then we listen to that plan.
I will not vote to pump any money into that theater. I
It's
don't
not
care
pumping
what
any
the-
more money than already is being pumped into it because we have to maintain it right now. We're not paying any more than what was already budgeted for that theater to have to be maintained while it's closed.
How much would
For
it
this
be
year.
I mean, we're talking about maintaining an empty building, shoveling the roof, we won't have heat, we winterize it like you winterize your camp, you
We
make
don't
sure-
have heat right now either though, Deb, that's what we're saying, is right now it's closed. We're not spending money on it that we wouldn't already be spending on it to keep it maintained.
Correct.
So we
But
give them
it's
a
not-
month to come up with a plan, and if they don't, then that's their answer, not ours.
I would like to see this council make a definitive answer on something.
We did
Every
in our
single
budget.
thing that we do is give them more time, give them more time, we need more time. At some point, when is enough enough?
We gave them to the end of
We
this
gave
year.
them that this year.
No, we gave them till the end of last year.
No,
And they
when,
did not
when it was
do it.
refunded again for 2020,
Right.
Well,
we gave
I
them
must have
until
missed
the
that.
end of 2020 to be able to operate on their own. We sat in here while
But
those
they-
negotiations went on, that in 2021, they would not be funded.
Yeah.
We need to stick to what we told them and give
Well, I
them
was
the
not
opportunity.
aware that they were told that. And something that important to the person who originally said, let's get rid of the theater, would have been nice.
Deborah, we
It
funded
was
the
during
theater
budget
to
time.
That was
some
during
extent
budget.
through 2020.
Right,
So
but
there's-
they ran out of money.
Are they out of money?
Well, now we've
They're
been closed for a while, so basically if the theater doesn't open till September, it's likely they have enough money to make it through to the end of the year because of the months that they haven't been open. But if they were open each month, they were gonna run out of money in September. We
Right.
had estimated at the current expenditures. Now, the only update I have, because there is no information out there, Jamie did call Dover Foxcroft to double check, and at the time I wrote this, they were thinking movies would come out maybe in September. Dover Foxcroft is saying that they're gonna try to schedule an event in July, and we can't figure out how because of the requirements. But evidently 2 movies come out in July, and they're gonna test them out across the country, but whether they produce any more, I mean, everything is unknown.
That's the biggest concern that I have is that, granted, the theater being closed right now would be the best time for the theater to be closed because there aren't additional costs of maintaining the building. Because we don't have to worry about heat and we don't have to worry about shoveling the snow. And we really don't have to worry about that until like maybe November, which I would hope by then there would be a plan of some kind in place. My biggest concern is that even if they opened in September and allowed theaters to operate, we're still going to be living with social distancing for quite some time. There is concern about a resurgence of COVID or higher case numbers come fall going into winter. And so within social distancing, the theater has never been profitable, even when you could fill it in theory, fill every seat every night.
Right.
We've never been able to do that. How are we going to continue operations when you might be at 1/3 capacity? Which most of
probably-
the time the theater's full less than that, unless some blockbuster or usually a cartoon comes out. So that might not change so much, but I don't see us being able, they had pinned a lot of hopes and a lot of their plans on having live events and live shows, and you can't pack the theater full of people. You just can't. It's an enclosed space, it doesn't have good ventilation, and you have to be able to have spacing between people. The amount of time that you're there becomes a concern, 2.5 hours for a show. I don't know, I have a lot of concerns about it. I'm okay with just keeping it completely closed until the state provides other guidelines, but I do want to see some results from the theater committee. They should be having regular meetings now and coming up with a plan to go forward. Tim, you have
wait a
some
I was just
comments?
gonna say the same thing you just said. I just don't think it looks very good to I know how this is gonna end up in the end, okay? Any
We all know
reasonable
how it's
person,
gonna end up in the
a
end.
reasonable person will know when, you know, your economy is gonna dictate whether this survives or not, okay? But if the governor and the CDC has said, you can't operate this, I think that we shouldn't be shutting it down until it gets closer to budget time, or until they lift those guidelines, whichever comes first, and let's see if the theater committee can put a plan in place to allow that social distancing. Do I think it can happen? No, I don't. I think in the end, probably it won't be running. But I don't think that we should shut it down now while the governor and the CDC have said we can't operate it. Fine, leave it the way it is until either they say we can or we run into budget time and then we have to make a decision. That way we don't look like we're just, somebody's got this agenda to shut everything down.
I'd like to restate my motion to table this until we either have further guidance from the governor or the CDC. And in the meantime, the theater committee needs to be coming up with a plan to present.
Now,
I second that
which
motion.
committee, because the
Hold on a
town's
second, hold on a
committee.
second, we have a motion
Oh,
to table.
did someone second it?
I did.
Okay.
Counselors, all those in favor of tabling the motion until the, until the state
Well, until we get
changes?
guidance from either the governor or the CDC.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the
Until we have the
meantime,
proper guidance.
we need to start seeing some kind of
Yeah.
constructive means to the theater. Because we've seen
Some plan.
nothing. There has to be some kind of plan or some kind of movement.
And, okay,
Do we want to discuss the motion?
just for a minute.
Let's, accept the motion and then we'll discuss it.
Okay, yes,
Because it was seconded, yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So all those in favor of accepting the motion, well, if we table it, then we can't keep talking about it, right?
Let's keep on going. She's got a question and I have a
All
comment.
Let's keep discussing and then we'll vote on the table again.
I just have one.
Hold on a second, there was,
Another comment?
oh, you were, I thought you were pointing to the computer. Deborah had a question.
The operation, the town committee, theater committee, is responsible for the operations
Yeah.
and to help with that.
I was meeting the other committee that was formed.
What, and I haven't, every time I've spoken to people, how many people do you have on that committee? And we're getting them, we got 4 or 5 so far. I don't know if anyone else has talked to anyone, but I don't even know who the other committee is, who's on it, and they have never come to the council to say, here we are, and we're gonna try and do this.
From what I understand, it's being led by the person who was leading the town committee. She
Yes.
left the town committee
Correct.
to go
She's
to
still
the other
on the-
committee.
She's
No,
still on
she's
the
still
theater
on the
committee.
town
the
committee.
theater committee.
She's
She
just-
just stepped down as the
She just stepped down as the chair,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes.
all right.
And I don't know that the 501c3 committee has any obligation to come to us and tell us their plans right now. So I mean, that's not really a consideration for me because they don't have the obligation to us to tell us anything right now. They could walk in the door, in October and say, we have this grand plan, we have funding, we have this, we have that, and we would welcome that with open arms, but in the development stage, I don't know that they have any obligation to be telling us about what they're
Well, in that case, I'm still for tabling this, but I'm gonna start leaning towards Deb. Somebody needs to get their act together because.
Absolutely.
Well, that's our theater committee is
Well,
still responsible for
whoever it is,
operations
it's
now.
gotta
That's our
Somebody's gotta
theater
start taking
committee,
charge of this.
not the 501. There's two different things and we have to
Correct,
be careful
which is-
not to blend them.
Correct.
And putting responsibilities from one onto another. But our existing theater committee needs to come up with a plan of, if the governor does say, September 1st theaters can reopen, how are they gonna function with
That's what we need to plan
social
for this.
distancing?
Yeah.
What are they
Okay.
gonna do in the snack bar? How are they gonna handle food items? How are they gonna handle seating
Absolutely.
charts or seating people? People standing in line getting their food. How are all those things gonna work? And those are the things
Good point.
that I'm looking for
Yeah.
a plan from our existing theater committee to come up
Okay.
with, because I will not vote to open the theater again if they don't have a
I
concrete plan. When you have a young man like Devin that can come up with a detailed plan like he did for the pool,
That's right.
and you have a whole committee of people working on the theater, there needs to be a plan in place, or I'm
That's
not
right.
gonna vote to reopen.
Absolutely, I agree.
Tim,
If they relax the social distancing, not the social, but let's say they said they can reopen, but they still have to have the social distancing. If they can't come up with a plan, we can't violate the state's CDC and governor's orders. So that would mean that they couldn't open it based on the fact they didn't have a plan. I
if
mean,
they can't open, there's restaurants
you-
out there that can open now, but they have not figured out how to make it work.
and
under
if
the
they haven't
rules
figured it
have
out, they
now.
can't.
They're
Because that
not
would be a
open.
violation of state law.
Which is why we should table this, like the motion that's on here, until there is a plan in place.
Well, and how long are we gonna give them to put the plan in place?
Well, like I said, it should be July.
Well,
The
we
first
can,
meeting in July, that gives them a month to work with our 2 health people to come up with a good plan for when they're
Okay.
allowed to open, what is the plan?
if we put it on the table, it can continue to appear on our agenda until we
Right.
choose to take it off the table, correct?
Yes.
Yes, but, so there's no guidance as of yet.
Right.
But common sense would tell you one-way traffic, prepackaged food, and Jamie and I spoke about these items. You know,
And there's only one way in and one way out.
I know, it's a
So
difficult
there,
situation.
I agree with Heather that there has to be a concrete plan, which we've been asking for since last year.
Well, this is a different kind of plan.
This is a COVID-19 plan.
So we have a motion on the floor that Pete made to table this, until we have further guidance from the Maine State CDC or federal CDC. And in the meantime, we're gonna be looking for a plan for the committee for reopening, if they're allowed to reopen this year, per those guidelines, and Amanda seconded that, so I'd like to move on this motion to table this item.
Yep.
All those in favor of tabling this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes, we're gonna table that item.
I have to go away from the agenda for just one moment. Catherine, is there any way to open that bathroom? I've had a bottle and a half of water.
Oh, the bathroom.
And I
the
really
bathroom-
need to use
the
it.
bathroom's open, you can go right in.
I couldn't turn the lock.
Okay, there's an employee one and a co-ed one, so just go in and lock the door, you're all set.
Perfect, thank you so much. I
Yeah,
was
we
like,
covered
oh my
up the men
goodness.
and women's names. That was a requirement of the CDC.
We can read, resolution 2062.
Proposal of blank
Proposal, so this is our
of the energy
audit.
saving.
All right, resolution 20-62, resolved that the town council accept the proposal of blank for the energy savings performance contracting and to authorize the town manager to execute all necessary paperwork, including the town's standard services contract for the project.
Anybody want to do an energy audit? We need a motion.
So this is one that we should add on some language. A package was supposed to be put together by the staff that we could take to the town attorney to make sure that the town is covered and doesn't have any liability under this project. Because there's a huge stack of materials
I
behind
don't really
it.
understand the material that was put in the packet.
I understand.
It's,
Yeah, it's confusing.
it doesn't tell us anything.
No, I understand. It's confusing. So we should have this subject to the town attorney's approval.
So we need to, so are we able to put the Siemens of Scarborough in the motion and then add on subject to
Yes.
town attorney approval?
Well, I would like to see a better explanation of how we arrived at that conclusion and
To use,
how the plan is gonna work, and because what has been submitted by Mike is not enough. I say give him a month or 2 weeks to put a better report together
What you
and
feel.
table this item.
We can do that too.
Yeah, I agree, I'd really like to have more information.
It's
on
a
this.
confusing
Well, and I
subject.
don't, yeah, because I don't understand, there's a bunch of numbers, but they don't mean anything. They're not in any
Yeah, I'd like to have
context.
a summary of what those numbers mean and how we can save money and.
Absolutely.
And all of that.
Right.
Because the idea behind this is to save money, of course.
I'm all for
This
it, but
looks
I
like-
want to know.
This looks like an evaluation of the company that
Yes.
scored the highest. It's not about the actual project, it's an evaluation of the company.
Well,
to
what other
approve this
companies did he
company.
evaluate?
Well, it's the two companies that submitted the proposals, and so those were reviewed, and then one would be chosen, which then would do the energy study. But my concern is that we were supposed to have a package that went to the town attorney to make sure that what we signed with the company, we had no cost involved, and that we got the product that we wanted.
Right.
So any motion that would be made tonight, unless it's the table, does need to add on subject to the town attorney's approval.
Why don't we just table it to allow the town attorney to do that and to get a little bit more detailed
Get-
write-up?
to
on
We
what
can
we're
do that
looking for.
too, yes.
We're at step 2 right now.
Yes.
Where we select a contractor. Don't
Right.
we need to select the contractor before they perform a detailed audit? Which would be step 3, and then we would either approve or disapprove the proposal. So
Correct.
that's the point. where
As
we
long as
can-
we're not paying anything for that audit.
Well, I think that's the point when we have a proposal we don't have a proposal in our hands to approve or disapprove or
Right.
even look and see at.
It's
So
just the,
we have to give permission for this contractor to be selected, then they can do the proposal, and we look at the proposal. The town attorney can look at the proposal, and then we say yes or no, right?
Well,
we're saying yes or no to the proposal.
Right. Tonight, we're just supposed to say that, select the contractor.
right, but we wanna make sure that that contractor isn't charging us for the study.
We just want to verify, it was a huge package of information, as you recall, and it's best to have the town attorney, if you have any contract for a major project that's different from what you've done, like paving year after year,
Right.
that you have it checked over to make sure there's no obligations by the town that's been missed by the staff that are working on it, which would be easy to do.
So, just adding subject to town attorney approval at the end is not enough for you? You want to have this tabled completely?
It's up to you all, if you want to table it, we'll have the staff come back with more information.
I'd like to make a motion that we table resolution 20-62 till the next scheduled town council meeting.
Second.
Oh, you beat me again.
It's just not enough information, and I wanna know who was the other company.
Yeah, so there's two companies, Simons and the Energy Efficient Investments and E&E Systems, Inc.
All right, councilors, we have a motion on the floor to table this resolution pending more information from the town office regarding the two companies that put in bids, correct?
Yes.
Any more discussion about this before we vote to table it? Okay, councilors, all those in favor of tabling resolution 20-62, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that will pass. We're gonna move on to 20-63.
Resolution 20-63, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager, EMA director, and health officer to search for a backup generator to fit the municipal building's needs as well as the town's finances, given that this project has been bid out twice.
I feel like we've given permission for this so many times.
Right, to get RFPs.
All right, we need a motion.
Move we adopt resolution 20-63.
Second.
I'm gonna give it to Pete. My prerogative, right? All right, counselors, discussion about this.
We just need to get this generator taken care of.
We do.
Let's just
And
do this.
the-
It's in the budget. We
I
need
have-
the generator.
Right.
Do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have a question though.
Okay.
The old generator, it still works.
Yes, but it
Ish.
only powers part of the building, so the
Right,
part
but
that
no.
needs it has no power.
It could be used at another building.
Yes, correct,
Okay.
correct.
I
Yes.
was thinking of highway.
Yes, it could be, yep, certainly.
So
So we're
Catherine,
not just gonna get rid of it.
No, it's
Good.
usable, it just doesn't have the capacity for this building.
Okay, so we have talked about this before. Yeah.
Yes, and we put out bids.
We put out bids
we've been
twice.
twice.
That was the issue.
Yeah, and the prices have come back very high. And so what I'm thinking is, we've been told we need a certain size, but let's try to negotiate with some companies. We've bid it twice, we've followed the bid policy. We're just gonna keep doing the same thing over and over again and getting back high prices.
So
Is
this
there a way to do this,
is
you
to
know,
let
by having
Garner-
people that know, you know, contractors and bringing them in and finding that rather than the 100,000 kilowatt, you could get by with a 60,000 or,
Right.
This
I
just
thought
gives
that-
them negotiating power, correct?
yes.
I thought that was the recommendation of the electrician.
It was, but also the electrician has now said maybe it could be less. I mean, maybe we're not gonna do the total building, but we certainly can do a lot more than what we have now. We have an area where a couple of things on the fire station are done, but you can't get the doors open, you know,
Right.
so those need to be hooked up. I don't know how this ever got set up in the beginning, but it's been,
Is it
it's
possible,
crazy.
is it possible to have the generator we have now run the fire station?
And that's another
And
option.
get one sized
Yep.
for the rest of the building?
Yeah, that would be another
Because then you don't
option.
need it running all the time.
Correct.
And you don't need to have an oversized one, but then you have to find space in the building for two
Correct.
generators.
Correct.
So this resolution would give them the ability to
Yes.
maneuver
To
those
make
plans,
those
though, right?
Maneuver to make something.
They'll make,
that works.
they'll make recommendations to us, of what would be the
Yep.
best way to handle this going forward, money-wise, how you get the most use out of your generator, what part does the current generator backup have for a plan, can we utilize it here?
Yeah,
If we
exactly.
can't, can we get maybe an 85 generator instead of a 100
This
generator?
building should always be able to have electricity.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That's true.
Yes.
I
You
don't
can
think
get
anybody
emergency
will
vehicles.
argue with that.
So it
Okay.
especially causes problems in the office
Well,
with the software.
if there's an emergency, this is like operation, this should be
Yes,
Operation
yeah.
Central. Our
Exactly.
police station is here, our fire station here is, our town government is here. This is where we would be running any emergency type operations out of, so you need to have
Right.
power here.
So we can operate it, but you have to run cords and you
And
can't
that's
have
not
everything up.
safety.
We don't
either.
want
So
to
we
do
need it
that
done-
anymore.
Well, I
Get it
mean,
done
the fact
professionally.
that it doesn't allow the fire department's doors to open is an issue.
So I think we're all in agreement
I
on
couldn't
this. so
believe that
I'm
when I
gonna
heard
call
Can we
for
move
a
this
vote.
along?
I'm gonna call for a vote, because it
Yeah.
seems like we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
Counselors, all those in favor of resolution 20-63, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So that will pass. Resolution 20-64.
Resolution 20-64, resolved that the town council approve a lunch wagon license application for the Cool Bus of 98 Main Street, Cortland, Maine, 04943.
Move we adopt resolution 20-64.
Second.
So new applications under the regulations are approved by the town council. This is for shaved ice.
I thought we changed it.
I thought
so
we
that
changed
they
it so
could,
the-
the
Not
town
for the first one, but it's the first.
renewals.
Yeah,
For
the
what?
first
Okay.
one comes in here, and then all the renewals, everything is done after that by the town clerk.
Okay.
Because we're missing a whole lot of signatures.
And that's okay, because they'll get it signed, that's just a copy that you have in your package. They're working on the original
Okay,
in the town office.
okay.
And I'm not sure they need the police department to sign
No,
off
no,
on it,
they
or the
don't.
fire department, or
Correct.
even the code officer.
The code officer.
No,
Well,
that
there
never
are
applies.
codes for those wagons.
Okay, it's a standard
It's
form.
HHS though, it's not usually your code enforcement officer.
Yeah, it's a standard form, so the code officer signs out for everyone on a lunch wagon. The fire department doesn't have to, and the police doesn't have to. It's self-enclosed, so they just check to make sure they have the correct permit.
I have a question. I'm just kind of curious. It's the first I've heard of this lunch wagon. When I read it, I think, do they know whether, are they gonna be down here on Main Street, or are they gonna be, I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, they haven't asked to be at our parks, we've told them the regulations for that. It appears from the application that they'll be driving around town.
It's
Okay.
basically
Like
an
the
ice cream truck.
Yeah. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Oh,
Good.
God, I wish we could get.
No, I was
an
just
ice
curious
cream
what they
truck.
sold. I hadn't, I hadn't heard of it before, so, good.
I saw
They're
that.
they're going all around
It
Hartford
looks
right
like it's
now.
a new business.
It'd be nice to have an ice cream truck around town.
Yes, it would.
It's like a shaved ice,
If I
actually.
can get them to come out to West.
I live on Library Street, I hope to see them come by all the time.
I think you will.
Okay, counselors, I'm sensing positive vibes about the school bus, so let's vote on this one. Anyone? All those in favor of resolution 20-64, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That will pass. Resolution 20-65, Catherine.
Resolution 20-65, resolved that the town council authorize a grant application for $1,000 to be filed with the Healthy SV Coalition, and if approved, further authorize the town manager and librarian to accept and expend the funds in accordance with the grant requirements and town regulations.
Will we adopt resolution 20-65?
Second.
Let's do it.
Any
We've
discussion?
talked about this before, right?
So this is a nifty little grant, which we certainly thank Healthy SV for,
Yeah.
in which they'll work with the library and come up with packages of arts and crafts and different types of items that will go home with the parents, and then they'll talk to them over the videos and the chats and everything about the different programs that will be set up, so the family can do exercises themselves, and it won't be in the library where everybody would touch everything.
Let's just get this done, that's
That's
great.
nice.
I'm so excited.
Very nice, we thank Healthy SV.
Any other discussion?
Hmm?
Okay, all those in favor of resolution 20-65, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Discussion items.
All right, very good,
Not a
very,
lot, right?
very quickly.
Not a lot.
Not a lot, that's right. Oh my, 10 o'clock.
Yes.
Very quickly, the April reconciliation for the financial reports is, was provided to you. So we, were through 33.3% of the period at that time, of which 25.6% of the municipal budget was expended and 23.3% of municipal water and sewer. So it's good that we're under. Revenue collections, and you'll see why. We had the month of April in which we were only doing a minimal amount of registrations. We did have other funds come in and did other work, but minimal registration. So the revenue collections report, we're through 33.3% of the period. We have 17% of municipal collections and 18.1% of municipal water and sewer. For excise tax, this is the unfortunate area, obviously, if you're not doing all these registrations. We are $34,767 behind the 2019 collections at this time last year. And for obvious reasons, closed down in the March, April closed, and May we pick up a little bit. State revenue sharing, we are still ahead. We had $42,245 over 2019 collections. And I did go in and look at the expense and revenues for May, which I'm working on. We don't have any of the bank statements or items that will come in. But we basically would be through 41.7% of the period, and we are actually above that for expenditures. The revenues, when the power went out and flickered several times, we lost several of the journal entries partially. So I'm working on that. We'll have that completed shortly. But the revenues are still under, for obvious reasons. Excise taxes were not being collected to the extent they are now. We did have 2 huge days, so June will be a really good collection month, and we will slowly get caught up. There is an option under the governor's order, the latest one on the change on the excise tax and the registrations that went back and forth, that the town municipal officials can set a date that is sooner than July 13th or 15th, in which all registrations have to get updated. But considering how that would slot more people in faster, and make lines, and the fact that people may not have the money, I'm all set that we just have them come in by the due date set by the original order and not try to move this up to the end of
Yeah.
June or something.
Yeah.
So I think that's better, it gives them more time. They have to have the registrations done by the middle of July for all of the months that have expired. So I think that's fine. So we'll keep right on top of this and set up a different spreadsheet to watch the excise tax. Because we signed up for the online, we know the registrations are being done, and we've got a couple of deposits, but we haven't gotten all the deposits. A lot of people have said that they've registered them. The money's coming through very slow. There's like a 2 or 3 week gap. And so we've got to track that with a spreadsheet. The boat registrations and excise is coming in very good. Every time one of those happens, it goes right into the account the next day. So we will keep right on top of this and watch it. It's going to be a slow process. We'll have a lot right now, and then it'll slow down. And hopefully we'll get back to the revenue level that we need to be at. Because our cash flow is going down, we do have a tax anticipation note that we're working on. And so that is needed to cover the town while the taxes are being processed so that the bills can go out and everything after the assessor sets the commitment. And then the money will come in and we pay the tax, the TAN back. The old fashioned way we used to have. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion?
No.
That was it?
Thank you.
Counselors, audience, we only have one audience member out there. Krafta, do you have anything you would like to say to the council?
I think Dale doesn't have a microphone, he's listening.
Oh, okay, all right.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you. All right, counselors. Oh, no, thank you, it's been a great read, welcome. It's been a great meeting, welcome. Thanks. Okay, Tim, why don't you start us off tonight?
I don't have much. I want to thank Devin and want to thank everybody that put all that effort into the recreation department. I think it's really great that there's a lot of collaboration going on to try and get kids out and try to keep things as normal as they can considering what we're going through. This is probably a conversation for a later time, if maybe. Was talking about the theater. Should the theater close down, and should it go to a 501c3, and should the 501c3 decide they don't want that building, and should we wind up putting the building up for sale if it doesn't sell right off, if we have to maintain it, I'd like to see us use it, and I know it's a conversation for another year, but I'd like to see us use it for something in the meantime, whether it's an information center, something, not just have it sit there. I mean, we've always talked about having an information center in the middle of town where you could pick up things, and I mean, that would be a perfect place for it. If it's going to sit there empty and collect dust, if that should happen, I think we should, as a council, look at, until it's sold or whatever, can we utilize
Use it for
something?
storage.
Nothing that expensive, but something. Just because it's just sitting there. That's just my opinion.
So if there's any transfers or it's actually going to be shut down, the administrative code does set up a theater department, so we would need to change the code before we went through a process of selling anything.
Well, just
I mean,
because we
makes
have
sense.
a theater department doesn't mean we need to own a building.
Right. I mean, the thing.
That's correct too, unless if you want to leave that there, you can do that too. Yeah.
My biggest thing is and I'm just saying, this is down the road, but I don't see it unless things change, and I don't have a crystal ball, but I don't see that selling right off the bat.
No.
As a building. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't sell it. That's a council decision. But if we're going to have it, we've got to maintain it. I'd like to see us use it for something productive. That's all I'm saying. Why not? Whether it's I don't know. Could be anything. Could be, like I said, information center. Maybe the historical society could use some of it. I mean, we should just utilize it. Maybe the library would want to do something with it with kids. I don't know. But we should not let it just sit there and collect dust. That's all I'm saying. Other than that, I have no report.
Amanda.
I would like to also thank Devin and Kyle and all of the people who worked with Susie to put together the summer rec program plan. I think that it was very well thought out, and I think that that it's really good for our community to have something to look forward to. Also, I just wanted to make a quick point. I thought we had fixed this before, but our signature papers still say Heather Donahue as counselor and Matt Bolster as counselor, and it should say mayor and deputy mayor.
We did fix those, they're
These ones are
upstairs.
not.
Yeah, I will speak to the staff member who did that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, those were fixed and you've been using them.
Well, I thought so, and
Last
so I
time
was,
they were,
when I
yeah.
saw that, I was like,
Last meeting they weren't either.
that's not right. So if we could fix that, that would be great, because they deserve that recognition, of course. And I just wanted to let you know that there's a water access pipe point thing on the corner of Library Street that appears to have been hit by a snowplow.
Oh.
And now that we've done, it's on the edge of my yard, which is why I found it, and we've done our cleanup, and it is really leaning, so somebody may want to take a look at that.
Certainly, thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Pete?
I also want to thank the people with the rec department for trying to come up with a plan for the kids to be able to have some activities this summer. That's all I have.
Deborah?
I also would like to say thank you to Devin and Kyle for, you both presented very comprehensive plans for the rec department, and they should be recognized for their hard work. I'd also like to recognize Ben Hall for pushing along the consolidation of all the committees and getting it into one, and we actually have a recreation committee now which has 4 members. So I think he did a great job. And that's all I have.
Yeah, I'll let him know, and we'll start the advertising tomorrow for the other positions.
Could I add one more thing? I forgot to recognize our EMA and our health officers. They,
Oh, yeah.
through all of this stuff, have been amazing.
That could be from
I
all
really think that they need
It could be
recognition.
from all of us.
They have been great. They're also tired.
I bet they
They
are.
are tired.
I only have a couple things. Like everyone else, I think that through all of our discussions tonight, and we had lengthy, detailed discussions, one thing is very clear is that, you know, there's people in this town that really care about the kids and the health of the kids in this town, and the length of our discussion reflects, you know, our commitment to make sure that we've thought this out well and that we're thinking about all the possibilities as far as having kids, you know, participating in rec programming and having that programming open to the public again. I still have reservations about it, but I am hopeful. And I hope that the programs go well. The planning that was thought through was incredible. They did a really great job with that. So I'm hoping that the planning brings fruit and that there's some happy kids and happy parents and healthy people this summer. And also for the hard work that everyone's been doing, you know, from the front office to the guys on the front line. We'll call them frontline workers too, with the transfer station and everyone in our departments that has to, you know, be right there interacting with the public and dealing with all the stresses. People are under a lot of stress now, and those are the people that are feeling it the most because they need to interact with them. And on a short little personal note, we are opening our little cheese shop next week.
Ooh.
Hopefully. The 11th is the date.
I saw the
but-
Facebook pictures.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the state. Our licensing got caught up with the state, and they literally lost it in the office somewhere, and then they found it. So I'm still waiting to hear from an inspector to get our liquor license.
I told Heather
So-
that all the things that's happening to her happens to the town all the time.
I know. I literally printed out another copy and was ready to like slog through the application again. And then they sent a little note and said, "Oh, we found it." I'm like, great. But I haven't heard from an inspector yet. So once they do that, we should be all set. But in the meantime, we'll have lots of cheese and no alcohol, I guess. But anyway, so that's what we're going to be doing next week. I would entertain a motion from someone.
Move we adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.
Catherine, I signed the water sewer.
You know,
Okay,
I'm gonna
great,
tell you
thank
something.
We were waiting for Matt, giving him a little extra time, I went in and signed
You know,
it.
you know, I'd love to see that. A radio station. Could be a radio station. If you want one, you know, we can go to jail.